Chapter 4138. ZZ. Within 10,000 miles of space, an unpleasant stench filled the air, and the Earth's soul condensing array's brilliance was quickly extinguished. Oh! In just a moment, a series of roars came from the winnowing basket heart cleansing array. The water current was even crazier than a python or dragon as it rushed into the blood sea. Z. Just as the winnowing basket heart cleansing array blocked the blood sea, the sound of rats chewing on wood came from the blood sea. Every drop of blood in the blood sea flashed with dark demonic chi, and as if a door had been opened, demons that looked very similar to the demon emperor flew out from the blood sea. Xiaohua saw these demons clearly. They were the same kind of demons that he had killed at the teleportation hub when he had just arrived at the ruins. I see. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes as he looked at the demon emperor that was approaching the blood sea. He thought to himself, no wonder the demon emperor knows this Xiao's name. It must be because those demons were killed, and he didn't receive any message from them. Since that's the case, today will be a bloody battle. Thinking of this, Xiaohua transmitted his voice to Lu Wuxia. Sect Master Lu, what are we waiting for? The demon emperor is right in front of us. Why don't we work together to kill it? Lu Wuxia was a little hesitant, but he also transmitted his voice. With our strength, we should be able to kill this demon emperor. However, this demon emperor is a demon that is good at escaping through space. It's impossible for us to block it and kill it. I just thought about it. We can only kill it if we lure it into the winnowing basket heart cleansing array. Alright. Xiaohua nodded. We'll do as you say. You and I will attack and force it into the winnowing basket heart cleansing array. As he spoke, Xiaohua waved his hand, and a thunderbolt as sharp as a blade instantly cut the blood river in half. Moreover, the demons in the blood river were all turned into powder. Seeing this, Lu Wuxia also waved her sleeves, and countless green dots of light flew out, covering the space within a dozen li. The dots of light then turned into mung bean-sized seeds that fell into the blood river. When they exploded, they also exterminated the demon race. Woo-woo. The two of them moved at the same time, causing the entire space to tremble slightly. Two sharp auras broke through the blood river and pounced towards the demon emperor in the sky. At this moment, the demons flying out of the blood river brandished their demonic aura and spat out demonic flames. Like locusts blotting out the sky and covering the earth, they pounced on the dozen or so huge fortresses of the Misty School. Similarly, the Misty School disciples who had been charging up in the fortresses also charged forward under the cover of the brilliance of the Earth's soul condensing formation. Rumble! A rumbling sound that shook tens of thousands of miles resounded. Many severed limbs flew out along with the miserable screams. However, these horrifying screams appeared especially vivid amidst the sound of the demonic drum. It was as if this blood and life were born for this demonic drum that shook one's spirit. Outside the fortresses, the Misty School disciples were risking their lives to fight. Inside the fortresses, the Misty School disciples were also desperately circulating their zhenyuan. Sounds of shwa 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 could be heard from the fortresses. One after another, raccoon-shaped lights flew out of the fortresses, roaring as they pounced towards the demons. The earth and yellow raccoon-shaped lights were actually very powerful. Every time a demon was enveloped by these lights, their pitch-black bodies would melt like snow, quickly turning into a pool of demonic blood. After a short while, all kinds of demon generals, demon marshals, and demon kings flew out of the blood river. The fighting strength of these demons was clearly a lot stronger than before, and the demonic aura in the entire space surged crazily. Kill! Roars of anger could be heard coming from the fortresses. The high-level disciples of the Misty School rushed out on their magic tools. Rays of light soared into the sky, and magic treasures collided with demonic tools, causing even the earth to shake. The Misty School disciples were desperately fighting. Xiaohua and Lu Wuxia were already closing in on the demon emperor. Although Xiaohua's divine sense was corroded by the blood array, his divine sense was very vigorous. With a sweep of his divine sense, he was able to force the blood array away. Although the demon emperor's figure was drifting, Xiaohua's divine sense was still able to sense it. Seeing that they were closing in on the demon emperor, Xiaohua rubbed his hands, and several crystal lights fell into the void. Hong long long. Thunder rumbled, and the space within 1,000 miles boiled. Following the thunder, the demon emperor's figure could no longer hide in the void, and a huge demonic body flashed with a strange brilliance. Around this demonic body, there was a layer of spatial distortion, and within this distortion, there was an extremely dark demonic aura flowing out of it. Kill! Xiaohua sneered coldly. He grabbed at the air, and a 100-meter-long streak of sword light appeared in front of the demon emperor's chest 100 kilometers away. The sword light streaked across the sky and slashed towards the demon emperor with incomparable sharpness. However, just as the sword light entered the demon emperor's chest, the demonic aura around the demon emperor's body slightly stirred. Unknowingly, the space distorted, and even the sword light was torn apart. Damn it! Xiaohua roared, and with a push of his palms, the sword light pierced through again. Chi! The demon emperor sneered, and the demonic aura around his body surged. At the same time, the spatial distortion became even more severe. Every time Xiaohua's sword light advanced an inch, the sword light would be torn apart an inch. By the time the entire sword light disappeared, the demon emperor was still not injured in the slightest. The renowned Taoist master Xiao only has this much divine ability? The demon emperor sneered, and with a wave of his hand, a seemingly solid ripple flashed from his withered arm. The ripple streaked across the sky, and a spatial crack slashed towards Xiaohua like a sword. Not good. Xiaohua smiled bitterly in his heart. This demon emperor is much more powerful than the demon monarch from before. Moreover, spatial manipulation is the innate divine ability of the demon race. This Xiao has only comprehended a few domains. How can I be this guy's opponent? However, seeing the spatial cracks slashing towards him, Xiaohua was not afraid. He raised his hand, and a huge illusory palm flew out, and grabbed the spatial crack like the hand of a yuanning. Hong! With a loud sound, the spatial crack was crushed by the huge hand, and the hand also turned into nothingness. CSI. At this time, Lu Wuxie also flew to the other side of the demon emperor. With a wave of her hand, she took out an emerald green branch. As the branch danced, specks of light flew out, and these specks of light fell into the air, turning into flowers. These flowers were extremely beautiful, and there were even dewdrops on them. However, the flowers emitted a powerful aura that swept away all the demon qi within a 10-li radius. Kill! Lu Wuxie also shouted, and the flowers spun as they flew towards the demon emperor's abdomen. The demon emperor was currently using his demon qi to fight against Xiaohua's technique, and now that he was being forced by Lu Wuxie, he seemed to be overwhelmed. In a hurry, the demon emperor opened his mouth, and with it, pew! A mouthful of dirty blood spurted out. This dirty blood turned into a blood demon that pounced towards the flowers. At this time, the blood demon within 100 li of the blood demon suddenly erupted, and like a flood, it poured into the blood demon's body. The blood demon's body suddenly expanded, and in a few breaths of time, it was already several hundred zhang tall. At this time, the flowers had already reached the blood demon's body. Pu piu piu. With a continuous sound, the flowers landed on the blood demon's body. The moment the flowers landed, they immediately turned into a layer of dark green net that quickly covered the blood demon. The blood demon's huge body shrank rapidly, and in a few breaths of time, it disappeared. Of course, the dark green brilliance also disappeared in the blood-red light. Seeing that Lu Wuxie's treasure did not work, Xiaohua coldly snorted. His hands formed a seal, and an obscure sound came from his mouth, like a dragon's roar. The space that was sealed by the demon emperor was being torn apart by Xiaohua's magic power, and pure heaven-earth yuan qi turned into crystal threads that fell into Xiaohua's seal. Ah! Not only was the demon emperor shocked, but Lu Wuxie was also stunned, and looked at Xiaohua in disbelief. Break. Along with the activation of Xiaohua's heavenly dragon speech technique, a strange fluctuation was generated from the left side of the devil emperor's devil body. Then, boom boom. The sound of explosion was generated in the distorted space. In this explosion, the devil emperor's devil body was blown to pieces. Damn it. The demon emperor obviously did not expect Xiaohua's technique to be able to destroy his body. He muttered and opened his mouth, and a fishy smell of demon qi came out. The demon emperor's body that was destroyed by Xiaohua suddenly moved, and like a crazy demon, they rushed towards Xiaohua. In fact, a small portion of the devils had even disappeared into the void. Xiaohua waved his hand, and the Kunlun mirror appeared in his hand. Under the activation of his magic power, Hong, a four-colored beam of light shot out. Ao ao ao. A series of miserable screams sounded, and all the demons were killed by the Kunlun mirror. Even the demons in the void turned into green smoke. After the little devil was destroyed, Xiaohua simply raised the Kunlun mirror. The four-colored light pillar once again soared into the sky and shone towards the demon emperor's heart. At the same time, Lu Wuxia hurriedly waved her hand again, and the emerald green branch left her hand, and turned into a big tree in midair, and pounced towards the demon emperor. The tree was several times more powerful than the flower just now. Not only did it destroy the blood river, it also cleared away the demon qi in the void. Woo! Facing the combined attack of two human experts, the demon emperor did not panic. He raised his hand, and a white bone the size of a mountain appeared out of nowhere. This white bone was covered with demonic runes, and the demon emperor waved the white bone, and endless demon qi came out of the white bone. Even the blood river in the blood array followed the white bone and rushed towards the emerald green tree. As for Xiaohua's Kunlun mirror, the demon emperor raised his left foot and kicked down. The beam of light landed on the demon emperor's left foot, and his entire left foot suddenly turned into a demon head. With a roar, the demon head swallowed the beam of light. At the same time, the demon head turned into a demonic cloud that was dozens of feet in size, and rapidly rotated. The Kunlun mirror's beam of light actually became dimmer and dimmer in this demonic cloud. Go! Seeing that the Kunlun mirror did not work, Xiaohua's expression changed slightly. He raised his hand, and a dazzling golden light streaked across the sky, and like lightning, it struck the demon emperor's left leg. Facing the Tengjiao shears, even someone as strong as the demon emperor could not react in time. With a schwa sound, the Tengjiao shears struck the demon emperor's left leg. Under the golden light, the demonic runes on the demon emperor's body were split into two, and the broken demonic runes quickly disappeared. The Tengjiao shears, which had transformed into a dragon, slightly flicked its dragon tail, and even the indestructible demon emperor's left leg was cut off by the Tengjiao shears. Chapter 4139. Oh! The demon emperor's body swayed in pain, but it was only for a moment. Several pillars of demonic qi emerged from his broken leg, and a second later, a left calf appeared in front of Xiaohua. Go! Xiaohua took advantage of the situation and activated the soaring dragon shears again without hesitation. He was about to slash at the demon emperor's left calf, but at this moment, a sharp screech sounded in the air. Xiaohua was alerted and immediately teleported to the left. However, just as Xiaohua's figure was about to disappear, the vigilance in his heart grew even stronger. Xiaohua didn't dare to be careless. He urged the lightning around his body, and the thunderclap ninth heaven instantly flew out. Just as Xiaohua's figure flew out, a white bone that was even bigger than a mountain suddenly appeared in the void. Although this white bone only tore apart Xiaohua's image, that heart-wrenching pain was already born, as if it had really pierced his waist. The demon emperor's voice suddenly turned into wild laughter. Daoist Xiao is only so. Xiaohua dodged the demon emperor's attack and his eyes flashed with anger. He didn't dare to restrain the lightning around him and shouted, "When did the demon race become so cunning? Could it be that after being killed by us humans a few times, you've become smarter? In that case, demon emperor, this Xiao will let you become smarter." After speaking, the lightning around Xiaohua's body turned bronze again. Gurgle gurgle. In the space sealed by the blood formation, the sound of flowing water could be heard. Then, strands of the power of the stars and moons stubbornly rushed out of the demonic formation and crashed into Xiaohua's body. Boom! Xiaohua's body uncontrollably expanded. This is the power of the stars? In the distance, Lu Wuxie, who was controlling the power of the giant tree, saw the power of the stars and moon tearing the blood formation apart. The demonic chi was smashed into pieces by the power of the stars and moon. She couldn't help but open her mouth in shock and exclaim, "The power of the stars and moon? Xiaohua, where did he come from? How can a Taoist cultivator control such a high level of star power?" While speaking, Lu Wuxie's gaze fell on the Kunlun mirror that was emitting the 4 pillars of light in the air. An indescribable expression appeared in her eyes. Could this really be the Kunlun mirror? But as soon as this thought appeared in her mind, Lu Wuxie suddenly relaxed and laughed. How is that possible? How could the saint body of a heaven's equal realm saint fall into the cultivation world? Wouldn't a single finger of a saint be enough to make the cultivation world explode? While Lu Wuxie was guessing, Xiaohua's avatar had already formed. He waved his hands and grabbed towards the demon emperor. Boom boom. Another series of thunderous roars sounded in the air. Within 1,000 miles, cracks in space appeared and rushed towards the demon emperor like a torrent. Ignorant child. The demon emperor was originally on guard, but when he saw Xiaohua's spatial divine power, he sneered. The wings on his body suddenly flapped and the bone spikes on the wings pierced into the void. Boom boom boom. At the same time, more than 10 dragon-like vibrations appeared in the void. The space within 1,000 miles was crazily torn apart. Huge cracks pierced deeply into the spatial torrent created by Xiaohua. Good. Seeing the demon emperor activating his wings, Lu Wuxie was overjoyed. She slapped the top of her head and a ball of 5-colored light shot out. A figure that looked exactly like Lu Wuxie appeared in the light and disappeared into the void in a flash. At the same time, the giant tree that was blocked by the demon emperor's white bone suddenly emitted the same 5-colored light. Then, a huge wooden sword was pulled out from the tree. The moment the wooden sword appeared, the blood river and demonic chi lost their color. Shwa! Endless wood element energy of heaven and earth appeared from nowhere. The wooden sword's light was dull, and it pierced towards the demon emperor's chest. Not good. The demon emperor was shocked. As if he was extremely afraid of the wooden sword's power, another demonic arm grew out from under his armpit. It held another white bone in its hand and hurriedly used it to block in front of him. The wooden sword seemingly calmly touched the white bone. Suddenly, the white bone emitted a jade-green light. Within the light, layers of flesh and blood bloomed like lotuses. Then, a sage-like cultivator stood up from the flesh and blood. Behind the cultivator, hundreds of figures of men and women flashed. Then, pa-pa-pa. A series of crisp sounds rang out. It was like bamboo exploding in a fire. The light was extinguished and the white bone was broken inch by inch. Even the demonic arm of the demon emperor was broken. The demonic chi on the demonic arm also exploded and blood splattered everywhere. Damn it! The demon emperor cursed. His entire demonic arm suddenly broke off from his body. Pa-pa-pa. In an instant, the demonic arm exploded into hundreds of pieces. However, what caught Lu Wuxie off guard was that the moment the demonic arm appeared, the nearby demonic chi and blood river rushed in again. Ayo ayo. In an instant, the hundreds of demonic arms turned into hundreds of demon kings with demonic chi, pouncing towards Lu Wuxie. Compared to Lu Wuxie's soundless drizzle, Xiaohua's attack was earth-shattering. The demon emperor's bone spear flew up and collided with Xiaohua's domain. The space within 1,000 li seemed to have been hit by a giant hand, shaking violently. With a thunderous roar that was not inferior to thunder, the blood river was torn apart, the demonic chi was torn apart, and countless demon kings were also turned into dust. Compared to the previous probing, the real battle between the man and the demon emperor caused both of them to be on guard. Looking at the sharpness of the space within 1,000 li, Xiaohua's eyes flashed with a fierce light. He raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Woo! Several mu of zhenqi gushed out again, crashing into the void. At this time, the void was even more complicated than a maze, but under the guidance of Xiaohua's divine sense, the giant hand easily found the demon emperor's position. Die! Xiaohua roared. His zhenqi rushed out of the void, turning into a fist and smashing towards the demon emperor's heart. Xiao Hua's divine ability, which was similar to the hand of a nascent soul, was a fusion of Taoist magic and the innate energy of a Confucian cultivator. As soon as his fist landed, the devilish flame around the devil emperor's body was extinguished, and the devilish energy was blown away. In the blink of an eye, the fist hit the thousands of dark devilish runes in the devil emperor's heart. At this time, the devil emperor had just broken his devil arm and had yet to recover from his shock. What he didn't expect was that Xiao Hua's hand would be able to cross the shattered void and attack him. Boom! The fist landed, and the space around the devil emperor's body was sealed. Thousands of devil runes scattered in the air, and the fist smashed into the devil emperor's chest while the devil emperor was dumbfounded. Even a wave of awe-inspiring qi condensed into a crystal thread and crazily crashed into the demon emperor's body. Ha! Demon emperor! Demon emperor! Xiao Hua sneered, raising his head and roaring, "You're only sil." Then, Xiao Hua's body suddenly leaned forward and turned into a bolt of lightning, rushing into the broken void. The void was also strangely divided into two halves by the lightning. Waves of heaven and earth yuan qi and awe-inspiring qi madly converged into the torrent of lightning. After a few breaths, the lightning appeared above the demon emperor's head. At this time, the demon emperor was urging the blood light and demonic flames around him to rush out, trying his best to resist the awe-inspiring crystal thread. Seeing the lightning about to hit him, he was shocked. "Go to hell!" Xiao Hua's angry roar came out from the lightning. It was like a thunderbolt from the ninth heaven. The lightning turned into a spear and directly stabbed into the demon emperor's head. The demon emperor's shoulders grew several demonic arms to block the attack. Those demonic weapons wanted to knock the lightning away, but the demonic weapons and arms were more or less turned into rotten wood under the lightning. Boom! The lightning spear pierced through the demon emperor's body. An earth-shattering explosion sounded, flipping over thousands of miles of space. Lu Wuxia, who had just activated her magic treasure to kill hundreds of demon kings, had an indescribable look of surprise in her eyes. She quickly rushed to the edge of the blood array. The demon emperor had fallen, and the entire blood array was collapsing. Countless demons wailed, and their bodies exploded like flies. Xiao Hua's figure appeared in the sky above where the devil emperor had exploded like a thunder god. He methodically withdrew his divine sense and coldly snorted with disdain. "The devil emperor is only Isu. Ouch, not good." It was also at this time that Xiao Hua suddenly felt that something was wrong. It wasn't like he hadn't fought the demon emperor before. The demon emperor's strength was unparalleled, and although his divine ability could match the demon emperor's, without the help of the scholarly cultivator Xiao Hua, the soul cultivator Xiao Hua, and Buddha Bodhi, there was no way he could kill the demon emperor. It had only been a dozen or so years, and although he had tempered his Tao heart in the heavenly demon illusion, his strength had improved after the reconstruction of his profound energy, but it should have been impossible for him to improve to this extent. The difference in strength between the two demon emperors couldn't be that big. When he thought up to this point, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of the zombie devil race that Yunche had mentioned. It was a race that could easily wipe out an entire sect with a single devil sovereign. Lightning appeared on his body again, and he hastily opened his delusion breaker eye. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua woke up too late. His body had just moved when an indescribable pain immediately appeared on his back. He couldn't help but howl as the feeling of his soul being burned directly. However, between life and death, how could Xiao Hua dare to be negligent? The true energy in his body surged, and his entire body shot forward. He didn't care whether he could teleport or not in the space lock. The tricolored spiritual fire gushed out like a flood and swept out behind him. "Oh!" An incomparably ethereal voice came from behind Xiao Hua. This voice sounded like thunder in Xiao Hua's ears. Even when Xiao Hua was teleporting, countless streams of light flashed in front of his eyes. The scene of him killing the demon emperor turned into images and shattered in these streams of light. Illusion! Illusion! Motherfucker, this Xiao has fallen into the devil race's trap again. Xiao Hua couldn't help but howl madly in his heart. When did the devil race become more cunning than the dragon race? How could Xiao Hua not understand at this point? It wasn't just a single devil emperor that had surrounded the Misty School. The devil race was planning to eliminate the entire Misty School in one fell swoop, and this time, 2 devil emperors had come. The devil emperor he was facing had attracted his and Lu Wuxia's attention, and the other zombie devil emperor was hiding in the void, preparing to assassinate them. Chapter 4140. Of course, the 2 demon emperors were planning to kill Lu Wuxia in a short period of time and exterminate the Misty School. They were planning to retreat before the conference hall could send their troops over. Xiao Hua even felt that if he hadn't visited the Misty School, the 2 demon emperors would have pursued Lu Wuxia to the Shindao sect after she was killed by the 2 demon emperors, putting the false and the real in place. This kind of brilliant strategy, Xiao Hua admitted that he absolutely could not do it. After consuming nearly half of his true essence to activate the spirit fire, Xiao Hua was finally able to extricate himself from a hopeless situation. When he reappeared in midair, he saw Lu Wuxia brandishing her magic treasure to kill a group of devils. Moreover, with a wave of her hand, a disc-shaped magic treasure flew out from her Sumeru ring and transformed into a huge ring to protect herself. Xiao Hua staggered in midair and tried his best to stabilize himself. His back, which was several hundred feet wide, was full of bloody marks. These marks were like demons, crazily devouring Xiao Hua's flesh. Between the bloody marks, there were slightly glowing demon patterns that flashed from time to time. Xiao Hua urged his Xiantian Zhenyuan to fight against the demon blood and demon patterns. At the same time, he was thinking about whether he should use his own demon qi. However, seeing that the strange demon patterns and his Xiantian Zhenyuan were equally matched, and he could only stop the demon patterns from invading his bloodline, he knew that the demon patterns were of a higher level than his demon qi. If he used his demon qi, he would probably end up in a situation where he had to save himself. Xiao Hua slowly turned around, his eyes filled with anger. This was the second time he fell into the illusion of the demon race in the ruins. Speaking of which, it was really embarrassing. However, when he turned around and saw everything in front of him, Xiao Hua's anger dissipated a little. Standing in midair was a human figure that was several hundred feet tall. This human figure was different from ordinary cultivators. It had 2 heads and 4 arms. Facing Xiao Hua was a very simple face with 2 slanted eyebrows and a pair of starry eyes. The 4 arms were holding 4 strange magical weapons. The 2 strange people's bodies emitted a dark gold color, and strange runes were engraved in this dark gold color. From this rune, Xiao Hua felt an indescribable primordial aura. When Xiao Hua saw this strange person, he immediately thought of the 3-headed and 6-armed celestial in his space. At this moment, the strange man's body was being burned by the tricolored spirit fire. The strange man's nose spewed out a dual-colored glow, and when the glow entered the spirit fire, it caused the spirit fire to burn even more fiercely. Seeing that the runes on the strange man's body were about to melt in the spirit fire, the strange man punched himself in the chest. Demonic qi surged as demonic blood landed on the spirit fire. Sizzle! With a violent sound, the spirit fire suddenly dimmed, but immediately after, the strange man's body burned even faster, and the spirit fire lit up again. Woo! A gust of wind that was even louder than the demonic drum sounded from the top of the monster's head. Immediately, a blood shadow spurted out. The blood river and demonic qi happily rushed into the blood shadow. A blood cocoon that looked like a worm appeared in the air. This blood cocoon was constantly shaking, and from time to time, demonic heads would pop out from the blood cocoon. However, the blood cocoon did not have a fixed shape. Xiao Hua's gaze landed on the blood cocoon. A demonic qi that was even more powerful than the previous demonic emperor was emitting from the blood. Needless to say, this blood cocoon was definitely another demonic emperor. Xiao Hua clenched his teeth. He circulated his Zhen qi to resist the demonic qi on his back as he thought of a way to defeat the enemy. The 2-headed, 4-armed zombie that had just been tossed aside by the zombie sovereign had also gradually melted into a copper-colored liquid that was being absorbed by the spirit flames. Kakaka! At this moment, the demonic emperor that had one of its legs chopped off by Xiao Hua, but had actually dodged Xiao Hua's attacks during the battle, laughed coldly. Its bloodthirsty demonic qi swept past Xiao Hua and landed on Lu Wuxia. Then, it raised its demonic arms and flapped its wings. Several spatial rifts that looked like spatial storms appeared and thousands of black demonic balls shot towards Lu Wuxia. When Lu Wuxia saw that the demonic emperor was attacking her alone, a look of desperation appeared on her face. She opened her mouth and a green light the size of a fist flew out. It was a flat seed that landed in the air. Lu Wuxia then slapped the top of her head and her Zhen Qi surged into the sky. When the Zhen Qi returned to the ground, her body expanded rapidly. At the same time, she rubbed her hands together and fist-sized crystals fell into the seed. Then she started chanting and a powerful qi rushed into the seed as well. A green light that was as bright as the sun shone from the seed. Lu Wuxia chanted, "The beginning of life, the beginning of power, the heaven and earth are righteous, the gods and demons are without evil." Boom! Another surge of energy that was hidden in the river gushed out from the ground. It pierced through heaven and earth and landed on the seed that was now 100 mu in size. Lu Wuxia slowly raised her hands as if she was really pushing the sun. Woo! The seed made a whimpering sound as it flew towards the Demon King's spatial storm. Every inch the seed flew forward, the green light would grow by 1 foot. When it collided with the Demon King's attack, the green light had already turned into a vine that was tens of thousands of feet long. It swept towards the spatial storm that could tear everything apart. After the seed, Lu Wuxia raised her hand and the tree branch magic treasure transformed into a wooden sword that was thousands of feet long. Countless strange flowers and plants bloomed on the blade of the wooden sword. Another rumbling sound rang out and Lu Wuxia's body began to glow. A Yuan spirit projection emerged from her body and landed outside of her body. It waved the wooden sword and stabbed towards the demonic emperor's heart. Lu Wuxia and the demonic emperor were locked in battle. Xiao Hua also moved because he could see that many zombie cultivators had appeared near the space where the demonic emperor was. These zombie cultivators were either in human form or beast form. There were even many that were half human and half beast. These zombies had tough bodies and were much more powerful than the demonic emperor from before. The stalemate between the Misty School and the demonic emperor was broken in an instant. Xiao Hua knew that he couldn't delay any longer. If he couldn't kill the demonic emperor, then the demonic emperor behind him would kill Lu Wuxia. Without Lu Wuxia, not only would the Misty School be destroyed by the demonic emperor, even he might not be able to escape from the encirclement of 2 demonic emperors. However, before Xiao Hua could fly a few li, the demonic emperor's body suddenly shone with a bloody light. A body that was thousands of feet long appeared in the air. This body wasn't humanoid. It had 3 arms and 2 legs, and it didn't have a head. Each of the 3 arms held a demonic spear, a demonic hammer, and a demonic shield. On the surface of the body, just like the shell of the 4 arms, there were also faint golden runes. The aura of desolation came from these runes. Damn it, how many celestial bodies did this demonic emperor take care of? Xiao Hua cursed inwardly. He raised his hand and activated the Kunlun mirror. However, just as the light from the Kunlun mirror flew out, the demonic emperor's blood-stained body flashed in the air and entered the headless body. The demonic emperor's aura suddenly surged and a pitch-black demonic qi appeared on the demonic shield, blocking the light from the Kunlun mirror. Boom! More than half of the demonic qi on the demonic shield was destroyed. However, after the demonic qi disappeared, strange patterns appeared. These patterns were either spinning or trembling. Although the light from the Kunlun mirror rushed into the weak spots of the patterns, in front of these patterns, the light from the Kunlun mirror was clearly weak and powerless. It actually couldn't break through the demonic shield. This is bad. Seeing how powerful the demonic shield was, Xiao Hua couldn't help but feel that things were not good. After all, this headless demonic emperor was holding 3 demonic weapons. If he couldn't break through this demonic shield, then wouldn't the other 2 be as powerful as this demonic shield? Although his Kunlun mirror had been refined to the spiritual treasure realm, compared to these unknown weapons from the upper realm, there was still a gap. Seeing that the Kunlun mirror was useless, Xiao Hua didn't hesitate to point his finger again. Shua! The Tengjiao shears flashed in the air and shot towards the demonic emperor. Goo goo! The demonic emperor didn't know where the sound came from. The demonic weapon in one of its hands was raised in the air. A similarly dazzling golden spear roared and soared into the sky. The previously torn space was once again pierced through by this demonic spear. Ka! The Tengjiao shears landed on the demonic weapon. The two golden lights were annihilated at the same time. Moreover, within the spear shadow, a thin pitch-black demonic chi was born. This demonic chi was like a hibernating viper. Before it could awaken, it was cut in half by the Tengjiao shears. Even though the demonic chi was removed from the golden spear, although it was still as strong as before, on the body of the spear, a thin crack extended from the tip to the end of the spear. It was neatly cut in half. A fox borrowing the tiger's might. Xiaohua looked at the demonic emperor like a tiger facing a hedgehog. He didn't know how to attack. Whether it was the demonic shield or the demonic spear, it was not the demonic emperor's own divine ability that blocked Xiaohua's divine ability. Hee. A loud voice sounded from the demonic emperor. Taoist Master Xiao, don't worry. I will let you see this emperor's ability, then let's do it now. Xiaohua roared and put away the Kunlun mirror and the Tengjiao shears. His whole body turned into a thunderbolt and rushed into the broken space, taking out the wishful staff. Boom! Where the wishful staff fell, the unstable void shook. The demonic emperor was not afraid. The demonic hammer and demonic spear danced and fought with Xiaohua's wishful staff. At this time, Xiaohua's wishful staff was very different from before. Although it had not really broken away from the 5 elements, every time it danced, it set off a kind of spatial power. Where the wind rose, the staff's shadow was heavy. Within hundreds of miles, it was filled with a murderous aura. The demonic spear, demonic hammer, and demonic shield in the hands of the demonic emperor were also very orderly. In the face of Xiaohua's storm-like attacks, the demonic spear responded, the demonic hammer struck, and even the demonic shield defended. The moves were also very clever and orderly. Chapter 41-41. Not good. This bastard's intention is to delay this Xiao. Xiaohua saw that the demon emperor was very cautious in his attacks, and that Lu Wuxie was at a disadvantage in the battle with the other demon emperor. He immediately understood the plan of the 2 demon emperors. He wants to wait for the other demon emperor to kill Lu Wuxie and then deal with this Xiao together. No, I must make the first move. Xiaohua made up his mind and his figure got closer. The attack of the wishful steel staff increased by a few points. Seeing that he was close to the demon emperor, Xiaohua's left hand loosened, and the staff was transferred to his right hand. However, the staff still struck down like a mountain. But just as Xiaohua was about to take out his trump card, the headless celestial zombie's chest suddenly overflowed with an obscure fluctuation. This fluctuation was very strange, and in an instant, it enveloped an area of 1,000 li, as if it completely ignored the distance between them. Xiaohua, who was closing in on the demon emperor, was naturally within this range. Pa. There were thousands of other zombies within this 1,000 li, but after the fluctuation passed, these zombies exploded, and clouds of blood mist flew out from these zombies, which did not have any blood essence, and turned into different phantoms that fell around the headless celestial zombie. Looking at Xiaohua again, there was a cluster of fine dust in front of him, as if space had been shattered. Then, Xiaohua only felt the blood vessels in his body suddenly tighten, as if a big hand had grabbed his blood vessels out of thin air. Then, his whole blood vessels began to burn, and not only did the blood flow speed up, but the blood vessels also began to go berserk, causing Xiaohua's body to swell and explode. A blood vessel phantom was born in Xiaohua's body, and it struggled with all its might, trying to break free from the shackles of his body and blood vessels. Damn it, this is blood power? Sensing the slightly familiar power, Xiaohua was slightly taken aback, and then he was greatly alarmed. At the same time, the demonic qi that Xiaohua had previously used his Xiantianjin qi to resist once again started to wreak havoc. It was as if thousands of bloodthirsty demons were madly gnawing at Xiaohua's body, trying their best to break through the blockade of Xiao Hua's Xiantian Jinqi and merge with Xiao Hua's almost boiling blood phantom. Is this the legendary pincer attack? Xiao Hua sneered and charged towards the headless celestial zombie. Green light flashed between his eyebrows and tens of thousands of soul strands fell into Xiao Hua's body. Tiny green seal characters also flew into Xiao Hua's blood vessels. Xiao Hua's blood vessels gradually calmed down and the blood vessel's phantom also quickly disappeared. Not only that, but the green seal text also emitted a ghostly chanting sound. The indescribable ripples traveled back to where the previous ripples had come from, quickly transcending space and landing on the Deva zombie. Green light flashed, and the strange magical symbols on the Deva zombie's body shattered. Then, thumb-sized bubbles burst out of its fleshly body. These bubbles were blocked by the runes on the surface of its body, but the bubbles rose and fell in many places, making the celestial zombie look like a toad. A vague shadow floated up from the bubbles. The shadow was as anxious as a suffocating creature that had just escaped from deep water. Human. How do you know how to swallow blood and control essence? The headless celestial zombie let out a thunderous sound, and there was a lot of surprise in its voice. Boom. At this time, the wishful steel staff collided with the demonic spear, and the force of the collision rose again. Xiao Hua's Dharma body only shook slightly. With a wave of his left hand, the demonic slaughter blade was waiting for an opportunity to attack, and Xiao Hua's golden body began to emit wisps of black gas. Woo! A fierce wind whistling sound suddenly appeared at this time. Xiao Hua was stunned and sent out his divine sense. He saw that the demon emperor, who was originally rushing towards Lu Wuxia, had abandoned Xiao Hua. The space around the huge demonic body was extremely distorted, and with a flash of light and darkness, the demon emperor had already appeared above Xiao Hua's head. Hundreds of white bone claws stretched out from the demonic body and rushed towards Xiao Hua's back. The spread of the demonic wings set off a monstrous amount of demonic qi that turned into countless arrows that also shot towards Xiao Hua's back. Damn it! It turns out that this demon emperor is proficient in spatial magic. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept out and was actually killed by these white bones and demonic qi arrows. Seeing that the demon emperor ignored thousands of miles of space and squeezed out of the void, how could he not know that this was a trick of two demon emperors? Now his strength was not even comparable to one demon emperor, and under the attack of two demon emperors, he was afraid that he would not be able to hold on for long. However, Xiao Hua was shocked and sneered, secretly thinking, if you two demon emperors attacked Lu Wuxia at the same time, I'm afraid you would really succeed. But if you use these methods to bully this Xiao, you will go for wool and come home shorn. Just as he was thinking, the headless celestial zombie cooperated with the other demon emperor, and the celestial body suddenly elongated. At the same time, the demonic shield was raised to block the wishful steel staff, and the demonic spear and hammer pierced through the sky, falling in the direction that Xiao Hua had to hide. Woo-woo! Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed slightly, and immediately tens of thousands of small whirlwinds appeared around his body. Not only was the surrounding blood river attracted by these whirlwinds, but also a large amount of demonic qi was sucked in. Xiao Hua's body was surrounded by a demonic helmet unique to ordinary demons. Seeing that Xiao Hua had actually turned into a demon, the two demon emperors were slightly stunned. They naturally knew that Xiao Hua had a demon spirit around him, but they did not expect that Xiao Hua could use demonic arts. Moreover, in the face of the headless celestial zombie in front of him and the mountain-like white bones of the demon emperor behind him, Xiao Hua was as steady as a rock. He waved his left hand steadily. Shua! First, it was like nibbling mulberry leaves, extremely subtle, and then it was like a small bridge, sweetly entering the ear. When the blade light like a horse appeared in front of the headless celestial zombie, the monstrous demonic flame had already rushed out from the demonic blade like a stormy sea towards the demon emperor. Boom! In the wild roar, all the blood-red and demonic qi were overshadowed by this demonic blade. Kill? Kill. This is the demonic blade kill. The headless celestial zombie faced the demonic blade directly. He was most aware of the aura of the demonic blade that could kill him. He could not help but shout wildly, "Where did you get this thing? Which demon emperor are you?" Unfortunately, Xiao Hua could answer his question. The demonic blade was like the wind, and the demonic flame was like a tidal wave. Boom! As the demonic spear and the demonic hammer were chopped into two halves, even half of the headless celestial zombie's body turned yellow and white inch by inch. In the end, it turned into white bones and fell out of thin air. What was special was that the phantom of the demon emperor was withdrawn from the white bones where the demonic blade passed. Ao. The demon emperor struggled to escape, and a blood shadow fell into the demonic blade. When the blood shadow was withdrawn, the demon emperor's blood shadow had already disappeared in the void. This demon emperor's escape technique was not inferior to Xiao Hua's in the slightest. Ka. At the same time Xiao Hua injured the demon emperor, the space behind Xiao Hua was shattered by the other demon emperor's white bones. The demonic qi on Xiao Hua's back suddenly surged, and half of his body was torn apart by the white bones. Xiao Hua's demonic body trembled madly again, and his demonic qi surged madly. Xiao Hua suddenly turned his head, his blood-red eyes filled with anger. He was clear in his heart that his profound qi had just been replenished, and it was really not good for him to use the demonic blade too much. However, this demon emperor was really hateful. He had schemed against him time and time again. If he did not teach him a lesson, Xiao Hua would not be reconciled. Place me in the land of death and then live. Xiao Hua clenched his teeth. Woo! The demonic wave rose again, surging violently towards the thousands of white bones. Ka-cha-cha-cha! Like the sound of mountains collapsing and the earth splitting, these white bones collapsed incomparably under the demonic blade. Damn it! Xiao Hua actually has the demonic blade kill. Tiske, you actually did not explain it to this emperor. When this emperor returns, this emperor will definitely not let you off. The demon emperor originally wanted to sneak attack Xiao Hua and seize the opportunity to obtain the demonic blade. However, when he saw how powerful the demonic blade was, which was even more powerful than he had imagined, the demon emperor howled in grief. He spread his wings, and his demonic body flew back into the void. Although the demonic qi of the demonic blade was crazily devouring the demonic arm and other things that the demon emperor had abandoned, it still rushed into the void to pursue the demon emperor. Lu Wuxie was somewhat dumbfounded as she watched everything that was happening in front of her. Her eyes were filled with profound meaning as she looked at Xiao Hua's uncontrollable demonic body in midair. She somewhat did not know what to do. However, just as she was in a daze, a demonic palm suddenly reached out from the void. The demon emperor's strange voice rang out, "Damn it, if I can't kill Xiao Hua, I have to kill Lu Wuxie no matter what. Otherwise, where will this emperor put his face?" The demon emperor's sneak attack was too sudden. Lu Wuxie did not expect the demon emperor to have the heart to attack her after being defeated by Xiao Hua. Her expression changed greatly, and she hurriedly activated her magic treasure to block. Boom! Space shattered as the demonic palm pressed against Lu Wuxie's towering chest. Lu Wuxie's delicate body trembled, and she hurriedly retreated like duckweed. At the same time, a green beam of light descended from her magic treasure, smashing the demonic palm into pieces. The beam of light even chased after the demonic palm and surged towards the demon emperor. Unfortunately, the demon emperor's laughter rang out. His voice had already reached the demonic array. When the space exploded, the demon emperor's demonic arm appeared in the void. It was just a lone demonic arm. The demon emperor had already fled. Damn it! How could Lu Wuxie not know that she had fallen into the demon emperor's trap again? However, her figure flickered twice, and after teleporting towards the demonic array, she reappeared in midair. Her originally delicate face had turned pale. Her strength was originally not comparable to the demon emperor. Even if the demon emperor was injured by Xiao Hua, she was still not his match. Even if she chased after him now, what could she do? Lu Wuxie cursed angrily. Her divine sense swept out, and she hurriedly searched for Xiao Hua. Io! Dao Master Xiao! Lu Wuxie's divine sense swept through the demonic array, but Xiao Hua's figure was nowhere to be found. She unconsciously turned pale with fright. Because just before she was injured by the demon emperor, she saw Xiao Hua's demonic saber swing. Although the demonic arm of the demon emperor was destroyed, Xiao Hua's body was filled with demonic qi, and he was sent flying by the backlash of the demonic arm. But now, Xiao Hua's figure had disappeared like a falling leaf. No matter how Lu Wuxie used her divine sense to search, there was no trace of him. Chapter 41-42. What's going on? Lu Wuxie circulated her cultivation to suppress her injuries as she flew towards the Misty School's defensive formation. How could Taoist Xiao have the devil saber? How could he cultivate a devil technique? Could it be he's a devil? I remember that a cultivator had sent a message saying that there were traces of devils in the fortune gate. Could it be that there's a great scheme behind this? How is this possible? Lu Wuxie was confused and frightened. She suddenly stopped because the two groups of devils that were attacking the Misty School's defensive formation had begun to retreat. The first to disappear was the zombie devil clan. They had already flown away when Lu Wuxie stopped in midair. At this time, the devils that were attacking the Earth Clan Soul Condensing Formation and Heart Cleansing Winnowing Basket Array had also slowed down their attacks. Many of them had disappeared into the void. Lu Wuxie heaved a long sigh of relief. She understood that her Misty School had avoided a calamity. The two devil emperors were injured by Xiao Hua's devil saber and did not dare to continue fighting. They had also given up on their plan to exterminate the Misty School. However, her relief only lasted for a moment before she was filled with doubts. If Xiao Hua is a human, how could he control the devil saber? Even if he could control the devil saber, how could he injure two devil emperors in one move? How could he be so strong? If the devil saber is powerful, then how could Xiao Hua control the devil saber that even devil emperors are afraid of? This Xiao Hua, where did he come from? Could it be that he's also a devil emperor? But he's not on the same side as these two devil emperors. At the same time, Lu Wuxie narrowed her eyes and took out a pill from her spatial ring. She watched as the demons retreated, and the river of blood began to flow in reverse within the black demonic array. When the river of blood finally disappeared, the demonic energy within the demonic array turned into demonic clouds that floated in the air. A bright moon appeared in the middle of the demonic clouds, and the moonlight sprinkled down like water. The moonlight fell on Lu Wuxie's body, and also on the Earth Clan Soul Consolidating Formation. The Earth Clan Soul Consolidating Formation of the Misty Sect did not fall down because of the retreat of the demons. Instead, some disciples flew out from the protection of the Earth Clan Soul Consolidating Formation and patrolled the area. Several young men and women flew out and arrived beside Lu Wuxie. They bowed and said, "Sect Master." Lu Wuxie retracted her gaze from the moonlight and looked at them. "You all saw it?" The few men and women looked at each other and exchanged glances. Naturally, they understood what Lu Wuxie was asking. They replied in unison, reporting to sect leader, "We can all see it clearly." "What do you all think? This?" The group of cultivators hesitated, not daring to speak casually. "Tell me," Lu Wuxie ordered. Everyone looked at the man in front of them. The man hesitated for a moment and said, "I'm very conflicted. I can't tell the truth of the matter, and I don't know if there's a bigger conspiracy behind it. No matter what Taoist Zhao's background is, no matter if he's a devil or not, his arrival saved our Misty School. If it weren't for him today, the Misty School wouldn't have been so simple." "Not necessarily," a woman hurriedly said. "With Sect Master's divine ability and the sect protecting formation of our Misty School, not to mention 2 devil emperors, even 3 devil emperors wouldn't be able to do anything to our Misty School." "That's right," a woman also shouted. "Xiao Hua should be a spy for the devil emperors. They have a bigger conspiracy and might use it as an opportunity to destroy our ruins. Junior Sister Een, you're too big-breasted and brainless." A man with a yellow face and bloodstains all over his body said coldly. "If Taoist Xiao is a spy, when he entered our Misty School, he had plenty of chances to sneak attack Sect Master. Besides, if he's a devil emperor, why did he risk his life to protect our Misty School?" My ethereal sect was already on the brink of destruction. If the two devil emperors just slightly urged the devil race to attack, the Earth Soul Condensing Formation would definitely collapse. Senior brother Zhou, what do you mean? Junior sister Yin said angrily. Could it be that you're also a spy for the devil race? Take a look, Xiaohua used the devil saber and already transformed into a devil body. Even if Taoist Xiao is a devil, he's still a devil god protecting us human cultivators. Senior brother Zhou shouted. When have you ever seen a human protecting a pig? Junior sister Yin sneered. Don't forget that we humans are food for the devil race. Sigh, shut up. Lu Wuxia sighed. Vice Sect Master Lien, I was seriously injured in the fight with the Devil Emperor. Right now, I need to go into seclusion to recuperate. You'll be in charge of the sect's affairs for now. If there's anything difficult to deal with, you can report to me. Yes, this subordinate obeys. The man in front bowed. However, a moment later, he asked in a low voice, about Xiaohua. Things will come to light eventually. Lu Wuxia's face showed a sense of helplessness. She waved her hand and said, I'll just do my own thing. I won't listen, I won't believe, and I won't spread the news. Yes, this subordinate understands. Vice Sect Master Lien nodded. This subordinate will contact the conference hall and explain what happened here. Do as you wish. Lu Wuxia's figure flashed and disappeared in midair. However, her voice remained in the distance. I need to go into seclusion. Respectfully see you off, Sect Master. I hope you'll be able to come out of seclusion soon. The group of male and female cultivators bowed. After Lu Wuxia left, Vice Sect Master Lien hesitated for a moment. He looked around and asked, Did you see where Xiaohua went? Senior brother Lien. Several people shook their heads. In the end, the cultivator surnamed Zhou opened his mouth and said, At that time, this disciple was fighting against an enemy. However, Taoist Zhao's attack was truly awe-inspiring. When this disciple killed that zombie, I also saw Taoist Zhao's demonic body. However, after that, demonic energy surged and the blood river became chaotic. As for where Taoist Zhao went, I don't know. Two great demon emperors attacked him from both sides. Vice Sect Master Lien shook his head regretfully. Even if Xiaohua was a celestial with 3 heads and 6 arms, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to survive. This was originally a trap. Xiaohua naturally left with the demon race. The big-breasted but brainless junior sister Yin jumped out and shouted again. Unfortunately, this time, no one echoed her. Lu Wuxia had already left. Who would want to show off too much? Besides, no one knew whether Xiaohua was a demon or not. If there was some kind of conspiracy, Xiaohua wouldn't have escaped with the 2 demon emperors. After all, the demon saber had clearly wounded the 2 demon emperors when it had been activated. The dozen or so Misty School cultivators discussed for a moment. They waited for the demon formation in the sky to slowly disperse. The rich and fresh world's origin chi madly swept in, gradually blowing away the blood and killing intent within a radius of 10,000 li. In this life and death battle, countless human cultivators had died. Similarly, the number of demon race cultivators who died in Ping River was also extremely high. However, the Misty School had finally survived the most critical moment. With the descent of the starlight, all signs of life were reborn. The Earth's Soul Condensing Formation and Winnowing Basket Heart Cleansing Formation didn't immediately disperse. Instead, with the influx of world's origin chi, they became even more powerful. More than 10 fortresses were entangled by water dragons, cruising thousands of li away. Seeing this, the dozen or so Misty School cultivators flew to various places under the command of Vice Head Lien. The entire Misty School gradually returned to normal order. As for Xiaohua, his situation was far worse than what these Misty School cultivators had expected. Xiaohua didn't know the origin of the demon saber, but he was very clear in his heart. When the 3 demon emperors saw the demon saber, their expressions all changed. Even the heavenly demon coveted this demon saber. How could the origin of this demon saber be simple? Moreover, every time Xiaohua activated the demon saber, he would be devoured by the demonic nature within the demon saber. This demonic nature was a great supplement to the demon race, but it was also a great harm to the human race. Therefore, with the existence of the demon spirit Xiaohua in Xiaohua's body, every time the demonic nature devoured him, Xiaohua would deliberately guide it into the demon spirit Xiaohua's body to eliminate the effects on himself. But even so, what kind of demon saber was a demon weapon? How could a simple guide method eliminate the demonic nature? Although the demon spirit Xiaohua could obtain the majority of the demonic nature that was harmful to the human race was still engraved in Xiaohua's heart. Xiaohua himself said that every time he activated the demon saber, he would be a bit further away from the human world. Therefore, unless Xiaohua had no other choice, he would never use the demon saber. Even if he used the demon saber, he would only let the demon spirit Xiaohua activate it. He would never interfere. When he was training in the folded jadeite forgotten land of the Dragon Island, Xiaohua coincidentally borrowed the power of the dragon domain to reconstruct his Dao realm. His Dao heart was also cleansed. It seemed like the demonic marks from before had already been eliminated, but the demonic nature in his heart had not completely disappeared. Ever since he arrived at the ruins, Xiaohua had already brandished the demon saber several times. Especially when he escaped from the heavenly demon's fantasy land, he brandished the demon saber twice in a row when his profound qi was almost exhausted. At that time, the demon spirit Xiaohua and the other doppelgangers were separated from Xiaohua's body. The backlash from brandishing the demon saber twice was like a carving knife that engraved the demonic marks in Xiaohua's heart. Therefore, after Xiaohua escaped, he immediately went into seclusion. He wanted to find a remedy from the heavenly demon's profound qi. And this time, when Xiaohua visited the Misty School, he once again encountered the two demon emperors joining hands to destroy the Misty School. Helpless, Xiaohua brandished the demon's saber again. These two attacks were admittedly injuring the demon emperors, but the damage to Xiaohua's heart was not any lighter than the two demon emperors. Furthermore, the counterattack of the demon emperor, who had the white bone demon arm and the innate space ability, after the white bone demon arm was destroyed, stimulated the demonic nature in Xiaohua's heart. Xiaohua's heavenly embodiment Earth Golden Body was quickly withdrawn. At the same time, his entire body drifted like a fallen leaf. The demon blood armor condensed from demonic qi absorbed the demonic blood and demonic flame from the demonic qi in the blood river of the demon race. Xiaohua even unconsciously took out the two demon hammers. Chapter 41-43. At this moment, the demon emperor did not have the time to look carefully. Otherwise, he would have definitely noticed Xiaohua's abnormality. Unfortunately, other than wanting to plot against Lu Wuxie, the demon emperor was also extremely embarrassed and angry. As a human, Xiaohua could use the demon saber murder. However, if he was prepared, the demon saber murder would not have caused such a huge injury to him. Furthermore, if he was prepared, he could join forces with the other zombie race's demon emperor to snatch the demon saber murder from Xiaohua's hands. Of course, this was on the premise that he knew that the demon saber murder was in Xiaohua's hands. The problem was that although Xiaohua used the demon saber murder in the battle against the demon race, the demon emperor did not tell this demon emperor about the demon saber murder. At this moment, the demon emperor immediately escaped into the void after injuring Lu Wuxie. He roared in his mind, "Huang Qian, what's going on? How did the demon saber murder appear in the ruins? How did this human cultivator activate it?" Huang Qian was the name of the zombie race. Emperor was the title of the demon race's demon emperor. At this moment, Huang Qian was also fleeing in panic. Hearing the demon emperor's question, he also angrily said, "Huang Qian, what you asked is also what this emperor wants to know. Don't forget that this emperor has suffered even more than you. Your demon saber murder directly slashed this emperor's body. Truly hateful. If not for this human sneak attack, how could this emperor be injured? Today's matter was originally planned properly. How did the demon saber murder appear in the Misty School's Ping River? If this is the case, our plan, won't it be delayed again? We've been trapped in the ruins for a long time. I'm afraid we'll attract the attention of other demon formations and the human race." The demon emperor Huang Qian became even more furious. If he had a trace of vigilance, he would not have allowed Xiao Hua to attack him like this. Huang Qian coldly said, "Huang Qian, don't ask this emperor. When we return to the demon formation, you'd better ask Huang Qian of the Qiujia race. He was the first to meet Xiao Hua, and he even fought with Xiao Hua. He did not gain any advantage over Xiao Hua. I think he was also injured by the demon saber murder. However, he did not tell you and me about it." "Damn Huang Qian." Huang Ku sneered. "It's not that he doesn't want to tell us. He wants to hide it on purpose. He wants to obtain this devil blade murder." "Why do you need to say such thoughts out loud?" Huang Chong sneered. "No one is a fool. Could it be that you want to ask him about this?" Huang Yu snorted coldly. He knew that he had fallen into Huang Yu's trap. However, Huang Yu was right. He would never tell the Devil Emperor that he had been injured by the Devil Blade murder, nor would he go and settle the score with Huang Yu. The two Devil Emperors removed the demonic array and retreated out of Ping River. The group of devils that were attacking the Misty School inside the demonic array also retreated. The demonic array was the same as the Earth Soul condensing array of the Misty School. Although it was removed, it did not disappear. Instead, it slowly faded into the void. The demonic chi formed a strange demonic chi passage in the space, guiding the devils to retreat along with it. As for Xiao Hua, because he was waving the demonic hammer in his hand, the demonic chi on his devil body was also poured into the demonic array. Therefore, when his mind was controlled by the devil, his entire devil body also fell into the passage along with the demonic chi, retreating along with thousands of ordinary devil generals. Although Xiao Hua's devil body did not have particularly obvious bone spurs or devil wings, the genuine demonic chi and devil flames were enough to confuse all devils below the level of Devil Emperor. Xiao Hua's devil body fell into the demonic chi passage. The entire passage was several li wide. Inside the passage, the demonic chi slowly rotated in one direction. In the middle of the revolving demonic chi, there were wisps of blood swimming. After flying along the passage for several hours, the passage widened again. At the same time, the demonic chi became thinner. From time to time, the demonic chi would rush into the earth, fire, wind, and lightning. The earth, fire, wind, and lightning destroyed a part of the demonic chi, but the demonic chi seemed to be endless, repairing the passage from time to time. When the earth, fire, wind, and lightning rushed in, they brought along some of the power of the stars and the moon. When the power of the stars and the moon fell into Xiao Hua's devil body, it let out a low rumbling sound. Gradually, the demonic nature in Xiao Hua's mind began to fade, and Xiao Hua slowly woke up. Looking at the demonic chi passage near him, and then looking at the devil armor on his body, Xiao Hua very easily recalled what had happened before. At this moment, Xiao Hua's mind was attacked by the demonic nature, and his body was destroyed by the Devil Emperor. He was at the most vulnerable point. If he forcibly broke through, it would inevitably attract the attention of the Devil Emperor and bring about a fatal disaster. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua simply urged the demonic chi to cover his own aura and continued to move along the demonic chi passage. After a while, the heavy pressure in the demonic chi passage gradually increased. The demonic chi around the devils in front of Xiao Hua began to rotate strangely. Like a cocoon, more than 10 tentacles stretched out. These tentacles fell on the demonic chi passage, and the rotating demonic chi brought these devils into the depths of the earth, fire, wind, and lightning. Seeing this, Xiao Hua naturally followed suit and also hung his body on the demonic chi passage. However, in merely an hour, Xiao Hua suddenly felt his body lighten, and the power of the stars and the moon in the demonic chi passage became rich again. Xiao Hua slowly absorbed the power of the stars and the moon, and was somewhat puzzled. Why is there such rich power of the stars and the moon in the earth, fire, wind, and lightning? However, without much time to think, the demonic chi passage in front of him suddenly disappeared, and Xiao Hua's figure actually fell outside the passage. When Xiao Hua's devil sense swept over, his complexion changed again. A kind of shock emerged from the bottom of his heart. He saw that this was a huge net-shaped blood array. The huge blood array was connected between hundreds of millions of blood balls, and those densely packed blood balls were one blood array after another. Countless devils were wantonly going in and out of the blood balls. And under this blood array, there was another layer of earth, fire, wind, and lightning that resisted the roaring demonic chi. This demonic array was so big, not only was Xiao Hua unable to see the edge with his naked eyes, even his devil sense was unable to probe the end. What was special was that the devil sense in this blood array was chaotic, like a bustling market in the mortal world. Xiao Hua's devil sense was not released far, and was immediately blocked by other valiant devil senses. However, it was only a short distance, and Xiao Hua also sensed the intense confinement power in the demonic array. Xiao Hua knew that even if he released his divine sense, it would probably not be able to pass through this demonic array. Damn it, isn't this the demonic array that this Xiao saw when he accidentally entered the ruins? Could it be that this Xiao has already rushed outside the earth, fire, wind, and lightning of the ruins along with the devil race's demonic array? Xiao Hua suddenly understood, and almost jumped up. Could it be that the earth, fire, wind, and lightning of the ruins is so thin, and just relying on the devil race's devil race to break through? Thinking back, this Xiao was in the earth, fire, wind, and lightning of the hidden immortal continent, but even after risking his life, he was still unable to escape from two Confucian cultivators. Yes, it might be like this. Xiao Hua pondered for a bit, and then thought again. The ruins is a star, the earth, fire, wind, and lightning around it is relatively thin, and the three continents are a continent. The continent is boundless, the earth, fire, wind, and lightning are unavoidably powerful, and can prevent the cultivators within the continent from leaving the continent. And the ruins is a sphere, the land within the ruins is a whole, the heaven and earth origin energy also flows differently in the entire sphere, forming a kind of cycle. The entire ruins is a relatively perfect composition, so the earth, fire, wind, and lightning appear to be somewhat thin. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua couldn't continue thinking about it. This was because below Xiao Hua, the other areas of the earth, fire, wind, and lightning were continuously surging with waves of fire like rising tides. Not only did they cover the earth, fire, wind, and lightning, but even some of the net-like demonic formation was destroyed by these waves of fire. This is the defensive array set up by the cultivators of the ruins. Xiao Hua understood. After carefully looking at it for a moment, he sighed again. This array can keep the devil race out of the earth, fire, wind, and lightning of the ruins, but it cannot completely protect the entire ruins. There are many flaws in it, so it is difficult to prevent the Devil Emperor from leading the devil race to sneak attack the cultivators of the ruins. Of course, the ruins is indeed the cultivation world of the upper realm. Dao sect cultivators at the 9th stage Dao transformation realm can set up a great array that can protect the entire planet. However, according to my understanding of the cultivators in the ruins, this great array might not have been set up by the current cultivators of the ruins. It might have been set up by the seniors of these cultivators. Their cultivation level should have exceeded the 9th stage Dao transformation realm. After looking at the great array of the ruins, Xiao Hua focused his attention on the demonic array. In addition to the enormous blood flowing through many blood balls, the demonic chi and demonic flames flying out of the blood balls and blood balls were also present. After the demonic chi and demonic flames flew out, they fell into the void and disappeared. At the place where the demonic chi and demonic flames disappeared, some devil race troops either returned or disappeared. Alas, this demonic array is really big, and the power of this demonic array is far from what I can understand. Not only does this demonic array seal the outer layer of the ruins, but it also seals the void of the ruins. All the teleportation arrays are ineffective. Xiao Hua looked at the solemn demonic formation and couldn't help but sigh. This is definitely not something that can be easily set up by 20 demon emperors. Even if all of my avatars are here, I'm afraid I still won't be able to destroy this demonic formation. The siege of the ruins is really difficult to break. Oh, and from my previous experience, the cultivators of the ruins originally had the home field advantage. However, with this demonic array, the cultivators of the ruins can't be sent away. The demonic array can also be used to teleport to any place in the ruins. This home field advantage has already fallen into the hands of the devil race. In this kind of situation, how can the human race win? While Xiaohua was thinking, the troop of devil race troops he was in moved again, flying towards the blood flow in the distance. Woo-woo! Just as a troop of devil race troops approached the blood flow, a demonic creature that looked like blood flew out of the blood flow. The demonic creature's blood rapidly rotated in midair. Both demonic qi and demonic blood gathered on one side, forming a kind of yin-yang fish shape. When the entire blood flow produced a suction force, the devil race troops excitedly rushed into the blood flow and disappeared along with the blood flow. When this troop of devil race troops entered the blood flow, it was the turn of Xiaohua's troop of devil race troops. When the demonic qi and demonic blood fell, the demonic blood and demonic flames inside the blood armor on Xiaohua's back that fought against the Xiantian true qi were actually somewhat diluted by the demonic qi. Chapter 41-44. Seeing this, Xiaohua was overjoyed. Waiting for the devil to generate a suction force, he hastily moved his body and used the blood-dripping paradise to rush into the bloodstream. Boom! With a loud sound, Xiaohua crashed into the bloodstream. After entering and seeing everything in front of him, Xiaohua couldn't help but be shocked. He saw that this was a blood-colored space, which was much bigger than what he saw from the outside. Furthermore, this blood-red space was divided into a dozen or so levels, each of which was transparent. On each level, there were extremely many demons who were obediently staying there, either lying down or standing up. Below each level, there was a torrential river of blood flowing in all directions. And the place where Xiaohua landed was also a stream of blood. The devil qi and devil flame on Xiaohua's body fell into the blood river, and an even purer devil qi and devil flame fell back into Xiaohua's body. Unfortunately, at this time, the devil spirit Xiaohua was not in Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua didn't dare to absorb too much of the devil qi and devil flame here. He quietly used the blood-dripping paradise to block the devil qi and devil flame outside his body. At the same time, he also used the cultivation method in his body to quietly suppress the injuries caused by the two devil emperors. At this moment, Xiaohua was surrounded by different devil clan members. Bloody light surged around the bodies of these devil clan members. Clearly, they were absorbing the blood energy from this blood river to recover the damage they had suffered when fighting against the Misty Sex formation. After moving forward like this for less than half an hour, a huge whirlpool appeared in front of him. It was like a big mouth that swallowed all the devils who fell into the whirlpool. Xiaohua slightly frowned. Hiding behind the devil armor, he looked at this whirlpool with a trace of vigilance in his heart. Unfortunately, at this time, Xiaohua didn't have any other choice except to adapt to the situation. Xiaohua rushed into the whirlpool along with the current. After a muffled sound, a fierce killing intent immediately appeared in front of him. Xiaohua didn't hesitate to swing his devil hammer. Pooh! With a loud sound, a devil general unexpectedly appeared in front of Xiaohua. That devil monarch also held a wolf-tooth club-like devil tool and hit Xiaohua's devil hammer. Roar! Seeing that his devil tool was blocked by Xiaohua, the devil general roared and once again swung his devil tool to attack. Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. He thought that he had been seen through by the devil race, so he hurriedly waved his devil hammer to fight. But after fighting for a while, Xiaohua discovered that there were hundreds of demon generals waving their demon artifacts all around him. He was just one of them. What's going on? Xiaohua hurriedly released his devilish sense, wanting to take a look. Unfortunately, within this blood-colored space, his devilish sense was confined and could not leave his body. Xiaohua fought with the demon general for a while, and when he saw an opportunity, he smashed the demon general's head into smithereens. Xiaohua had just won when another lump of blood appeared on top of his head. Then, Xiaohua's figure was sucked into the blood once again. When he opened his eyes again, he was in another layer of the blood-red space, and an even more powerful demon general appeared before him. Motherfucker, I understand now. After killing 3 demon generals in succession, Xiaohua entered 3 different blood-red spaces. Moreover, these three demon generals were each more powerful than the other. Xiao Hua suddenly realized, this is a way for the devil race to gain experience. They are actually training their own warriors at the same time they are surrounding the ruins. Although Xiao Hua cultivated devil techniques, he was not familiar with the habits of the devil race. His understanding of the devil race was also obtained from Zhang Qingxiao's jade slip. Zhang Qingxiao himself had never been to the devil world, and his jade slip was also obtained from other devil race. Therefore, in Xiao Hua's mind, he had always thought that the devil race was the kind of mighty and powerful people. However, the Battle of the Ruins allowed him to understand a lot. Those devil monarchs were each more cunning than the other. Of course, their power was pale and powerless in front of Xiao Hua's absolute strength. However, when Xiao Hua faced the devil monarchs, Xiao Hua finally experienced the power of these devil monarch schemes. Looking at the devil formation that surrounded the ruins, although it was just a glimpse of the leopard, Xiao Hua was also alarmed. He was secretly worried for himself and all the cultivators in the ruins. Xiao Hua easily killed several devils. Then he saw a strand of blood-red crystal thread emerging from the space above. Xiao Hua's gaze fell on it, and he could faintly see the image of several wailing devils in the crystal thread. Weren't they the devils that Xiao Hua had killed before? This crystal thread fell and flew directly towards Xiao Hua's head, scaring him into hastily dodging. At this moment, how could he not know that this blood-red crystal thread contained the essence blood of several devils? Unfortunately, he only dodged for a moment, and powerful blood chi surged in the surroundings, blocking his figure. Even the entire blood-red space was shaking. Xiao Hua had no choice but to stop. Devil chi overflowed from the surface of his body, and his mind tightly stuck to the edge of the devil chi. When that blood-red crystal thread fell into the devil chi, just as it moved along with the devil chi, his mind immediately absorbed that crystal thread into the space. Jade Archive Xiao Hua was afraid that this crystal thread would have some strange changes, and followed it into the space. Fortunately, just as that blood-red crystal thread was about to transform into the space, the blood stains spread out. Jade Archive Xiao Hua made another move and condensed it into a crystal bead the size of a mung bean in his palm. Within this crystal bead, several devils were crazily wailing, looking extremely mournful. After storing this crystal bead, Jade Archive Xiao Hua hurriedly escaped from the space. He thought that he had already sensed that his physical body was sucked away by the blood stains in the blood-red space, and his figure once again fell into another stream of blood. Xiao Hua's mind returned to its original position, and he looked at the blood around him in bewilderment. This time, the blood was different from before. It completely annihilated Xiao Hua's devil body. Moreover, many tentacles grew out from the devil blood and connected with Xiao Hua's devil armor. Strands of devil blood flowed into the devil armor, and should be replenishing the deficiency of the devil armor. Damn it! Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. At this moment he really regretted letting Devil Spirit Xiao Hua follow Dragon Vein Xiao Hua and the others to the Snow/Gate. If Devil Spirit Xiao Hua was by his side, not only would he not be in such a difficult situation when facing the Devil Emperor, but at this moment, everything in this devil array was really a great supplement for Devil Spirit Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua's eyes turned, and he released his mind again, guiding the devil blood into his space. However, this time, Xiao Hua was not in a hurry to let Jade Archive Xiao Hua enter the space. Instead, he confined the devil blood in a small space, and let the devil blood spread out. This time, the flow of blood was very long. Xiao Hua flowed with the devil blood for almost an hour before it stopped. Moreover, the moment the flow of blood stopped, devil qi immediately gushed out from the passage, enveloping Xiao Hua, and dragged him in a certain direction. The devil qi was filled with the power of confinement, and with the strength of a devil general, it was impossible to break free. The devil qi turned into a rolling image, and Xiao Hua's figure rushed out of the passage in this devil qi. However, when he came out of the passage, Xiao Hua's figure actually fell into the vague void. After a simple teleportation, Xiao Hua's eyes flashed, and his figure appeared in a corner of the devil array again. Just as Xiao Hua stood still in the demonic array, He saw that within 100 li to his left, swish, swish, swish. Demonic chi spurted out from the void one after another as more and more demonic generals appeared. These devil generals either had devil wings on their backs, white bones on their bodies, or devil horns on their foreheads. There were even some that looked like devil beasts. Xiao Hua merely swept his gaze over these devil generals, and his heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly raised his head and saw several tall devil generals holding palm-sized devil banners, standing majestically in the air. These devil generals had devil horns on their heads, wings on their backs, and a layer of scales covering their bodies. These scales had strange devil runes on them. Xiao Hua's gaze swept over these devil generals, and his gaze fell on one of them. Although Xiao Hua couldn't tell the difference between this devil general and the other devil generals, he could clearly feel that this devil general was the ordinary devil general he had met when he led the Fortune Gate's disciples to the southwest border to rescue the White Cloud Monastery and the other 10 sects. His grandmother. Xiao Hua looked at this devil general in bewilderment. What's going on? How do I know this devil general? When Xiao Hua looked at this devil general, that devil general also sensed Xiao Hua's gaze. He lowered his head to look at Xiao Hua, and his gaze swept over the other devil generals that had appeared. Xiao Hua didn't dare to look any longer, and his gaze also swept over the other devil generals near this devil general. Very clearly, the familiar feeling from before didn't appear again, and the devil banners in the hands of these devil generals flickered with a faint blood-red light, enveloping the surrounding space. Xiao Hua's gaze moved away from the devil generals, and he looked into the distance. He saw a huge blood sphere that looked like a cocoon blocking his path. This blood sphere was different from the blood sphere he had seen before. The blood sphere in the devil array was a single entity, but this blood sphere was covered in blood. These blood streams were flowing rapidly, and they seemed to be separated from each other. There was even more devil chi that intertwined in the gaps between the streams of blood. Strange. Xiao Hua's gaze fell on this blood sphere, and an indescribable feeling rose in his heart. Why does this blood sphere look similar to the metal and wood elements? However, it's really similar. Aren't the blood streams on the blood sphere the path of the magnetic force? Moreover, some of these blood streams flow towards one end of the blood sphere, while others flow towards the other end of the blood sphere. If this blood sphere reproduces a magnetic force, then it's really the blood array magnetic force. Just as Xiao Hua was sizing up the devil array beneath his feet, tens of thousands of devils had already gathered in the space of the devil array. They stood densely all around Xiao Hua, and it was a magnificent sight. At this moment, several devil generals waved the devil banners in their hands, and thousands of blood threads flew out from the devil banners, landing on different devil generals. Xiao Hua's body was no exception, and a blood thread also landed on his body. Moreover, the blood thread that landed on Xiao Hua's body came from the devil banners of the devil general that Xiao Hua was familiar with. When that blood thread landed, an indescribable feeling came from the devil armor, and the blood vessels in Xiao Hua's body moved slightly. Chapter 41-45. All of you, listen to the order of the Devil Lord. Just as Xiao Hua was frowning, a voice very strangely appeared from within Xiao Hua's demonic armor. Xiao Hua could clearly see that the voice was coming from the blood threads. However, when Xiao Hua heard the voice of the demon general, he didn't feel that it was familiar at all. However, before Xiao Hua could listen any further, a strange sound came from the distant space. The group of demon generals and Xiao Hua all turned their heads to look in surprise. They saw that the space first seemed to be boiling and many bubbles floated out. Then, black and white light splashed everywhere. There were even some dark green light threads in the light. In the end, the space within 100 li rapidly collapsed. The space within a few hundred li was distorted by this collapse. In this distortion, several human figures were revealed like fireflies scattered on the surface of water. Boom! The moment these human figures appeared, the collapsed space suddenly exploded. A powerful aura rushed towards the blood sphere in the demonic array and the group of demon generals. When the aura rushed into the blood sphere, it was like a huge rock being thrown into the water. The blood pillar that formed an arc was deeply pressed into it. The group of demon generals didn't receive any orders. They all quietly stood in the air without moving. Wherever the aura passed, hundreds of demon generals were torn to pieces. When the aura passed by Xiaohua, he immediately understood. He couldn't help but exclaim in his heart, "Transmission channel! Someone in the ruins is using the transmission channel." Sure enough, wherever the exploding aura passed, the human figures merged into one. It was a young cultivator wearing a Taoist robe. The young cultivator's body trembled slightly. The light protecting his body also flickered. His pale face was filled with confusion and incomprehension. It seemed that he still didn't understand what was going on. However, before his divine sense could sweep out, he saw the group of demon generals and the bloody demonic array in the surroundings. The young cultivator immediately understood. He hurriedly raised his hand and a magic treasure that looked like a wheel appeared in his hand. Under the activation of the magic treasure, thousands of light pillars shot out from the magic treasure. Several demon generals that were closer to the cultivator were killed by the light pillars. Kill! The commanding demon generals were clearly shocked by the sudden turn of events. Only now did they regain their senses. Under the urging of several demon banners, tens of thousands of demon generals rushed towards the cultivators. Damn it! The young cultivator cursed. As he flew, he released his divine sense to search for a way to escape. The Dharma treasure in the cultivator's hand shone brilliantly and killed all the devil generals that pounced on him. The cultivator was obviously in the void refinement realm and the devil generals were no match for him. However, these devil generals were not afraid of death. Wherever the cultivator flew, they would chase after him. Xiaohua naturally flew along with these devil generals. Seeing that this cultivator had the upper hand, he simply observed from the back. If this cultivator was in trouble, or if this cultivator could find a way to escape from the devil formation, he would definitely make the first move. Seeing that many devil generals were killed by the cultivator, the devil generals holding the demon banners stopped. One of them waved the demon banners as if to send a message. However, at this moment, the devil general that Xiaohua was familiar with suddenly flew to the side of the devil general and seemed to say something. As a result, the devil general's demon banners stopped. Then, several devil generals activated their demon banners. From the devil formation closest to them, hundreds of blood pillars and devil chi flew out. They were even more ferocious than pythons as they pounced towards the cultivator. Sizzle! The cultivator activated his Dharma treasure. When the light pillars fell into the blood pillars, they immediately emitted sounds of corrosion. Moreover, the huge force from the blood pillars forced the cultivator's body to fall. "Oh, not good." Xiaohua didn't understand at first. However, when he saw the cultivator's body fall and his gaze followed the direction of the blood sphere in the devil formation, he suddenly understood. He cursed in his heart and hurriedly raised his hand to activate his magic power. However, Xiaohua was still too slow. The moment the cultivator's body fell several hundred feet, the blood pillars that were previously suppressed by the aura from the explosion of the teleportation formation suddenly rose up. The blood pillars covered the cultivator within a dozen miles. Inside the blood pillars, the cultivator's body flashed with brilliance. The originally majestic Dharma treasure suddenly lost its brilliance. Even the cultivator's body involuntarily fell towards the blood formation. No matter how the cultivator's true essence was activated, the sound of thunder resounded in the air. His body couldn't fly up even half an inch. Before Xiaohua could activate his magic power to help, the cultivator's body was already pulled into the blood sphere. Even if this blood sphere isn't a magnetic space, I'm afraid it's almost there. Xiaohua somewhat regretted not activating it earlier. As he thought this, his body was about to fall towards the blood sphere. "You all." At this moment, the devil general that Xiaohua was familiar with waved the demon banners in his hand. Xiaohua and the several hundred devil generals heard an order. "Follow this general to the blood pavilion. Use the power of the blood pavilion to exterminate the human race." The several hundred devil generals received the order and followed the devil general's body. However, these devil generals stopped a few miles away from the blood sphere and stood still in midair. Then, the devil general waved the demon banners in his hand. The devil runes on the surface of the devil general's bodies emitted obscure fluctuations. As these fluctuations rushed out, hundreds of blood pillars shot out from the devil ball. The devil runes on Xiaohua's body didn't fluctuate with the wave of the demon banners. However, the blood threads that the demon banners left in his devil armor still flickered with a dim blood-red light and attracted a blood pillar from the blood sphere. This is a little strange. Xiaohua's heart moved. Why are the other devil generals fluctuating from their devil runes, but this old man's blood threads? In this way, didn't this devil general discover this old man? Not good. Thinking of this, Xiaohua suddenly remembered that when he saw the devil general earlier, the devil general also seemed to be looking at him. Perhaps this devil general had already discovered him. Just as Xiaohua was startled, a sneer appeared in the devil general's eyes. As he waved the demon banners, hundreds of blood pillars roared and enveloped Xiaohua. In the middle of the blood pillars, Xiaohua was familiar with the magnetic field force entangled and appeared. It really is the magnetic field force. Xiaohua finally understood why the void refinement cultivator was sucked in by the blood sphere. Under the magnetic field force, the power of the 5 elements was restrained. That cultivator didn't have a demigod body like Xiaohua, so naturally, all of his magic power was controlled by the magnetic field force. How could he escape? However, why would Xiaohua care about the magnetic field force? Lightning flashed around his body and let out a rumbling sound. At the same time that he destroyed the blood formation, his figure suddenly landed in front of the devil general. The devil general was shocked and hurriedly waved the demon banners to resist. However, Xiaohua waved his big sleeve and completely imprisoned him. His left hand reached out and easily took the demon banners. He reached out again and grabbed the devil general's throat. Narrowing his eyes, he stared at the devil general's eyes and coldly shouted, "Do you know Zhang Qingxiao?" Zhang Qingxiao? The devil general's voice was somewhat hoarse as he replied, "I don't know." Xiaohua frowned slightly and asked again, "Do you know this old man?" "You are Xiaohua, Taoist Master Xiao." The devil general nodded vigorously. "I know." Xiaohua was shocked and asked, "How do you know this old man?" "When Taoist Master killed the devil monarch, I saw it from the side." The devil general hurriedly explained. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He asked again, "Before you came to the ruins, did you know this Xiao's name?" "I didn't." The devil general hurriedly shook his head. "What's your name?" Xiaohua thought for a moment and asked again. At the same time that Xiaohua asked, the strength in his hand increased by a bit. It seemed that as long as this devil general was a bit inappropriate, he would immediately kill this devil general. "My name is Ya." The devil general's body twitched. He didn't dare to be negligent. After pausing for a moment, he said a very awkward syllable. "What? Ya?" Xiaohua didn't hear it clearly and asked again. The devil general panicked and said, "My name is not easy to pronounce. I gave myself another name, called Di Shirtian." "See." Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air and muttered, "Di Shirtian? Di Shirtian?" "Yes, yes, sir." Di Shirtian stuttered, not knowing what he should say. Because Di Shirtian was definitely not someone that a small devil general like him could call himself. However, Xiaohua didn't mind. Instead, he asked again, "When you saw this old man just now, did you already recognize this old man?" "Yes, yes." Di Shirtian seemed like he was going to cry. Xiaohua using Kunlun mirror to kill the devil monarch had left an extremely deep impression on him. Now that he had fallen into Xiaohua's hands, he was even worse than a child. Xiaohua only needed to move his finger to kill him. Right now, he was extremely regretful. Why did he want to lay a trap for Xiaohua? Why did he have to kill this Xiaohua who was even more powerful than the devil monarch? Was it just to take credit? Or was it because of some other reason? Similarly, Xiaohua's finger really moved. However, the strength in his hand didn't appear. The devil chi around Xiaohua's body gradually disappeared, revealing his original appearance. He looked at Di Shirtian with interest and asked, "This old man still has a question. If your answer satisfies this old man, This old man can consider letting you go. Go ahead and ask. D. Shirtion's mouth was a little dry as he asked softly. How many devils did you send to invade the ruins? How many devil monarchs came? Daoist Xiao. D. Shirtion smiled apologetically. However, no pleading could be seen on his malevolent face. I am just a devil general who is about to advance into devil commander. How could I know so much? How many devils do you know? Which devil race are you from? The name of your devil monarch. I am from the Mayfly race. My devil monarch is called the Mayfly race. D. Shirtion hesitated for a moment before answering. I only know of the zombie race and the Chiojia race. I don't know anything else. How do you break the devil array? Xiaohua asked again. D. Shirtion shook his head and said, I really don't know about this. Furthermore, I feel that it is impossible for humans to break this devil array. Daoist Xiao, this is already the second question. Damn it. Xiaohua's hand tightened as he scolded, this old man is only asking a few questions. Isn't it still dependent on this old man's mood? If you don't want to live anymore, this old man won't ask a single question. Chapter 41-46. Indra didn't dare to argue anymore. He only looked at the demon generals standing in the air, and his heart tightened. He couldn't see the situation above his head. Presumably, those demon generals had already started to move the formation. As long as those demon generals made their move, he would have no way to survive. One last question. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and looked at the demon generals descending like dark clouds. He said, Are you a man or a woman? Indra was stunned. He couldn't believe his ears. He exclaimed, Daoist Xiao, you? How did you know I'm a woman? Xiaohua looked up and down at Indra. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Damn it, how would I know if you're a man or a woman? I was just casually asking. Yes, yes. Indra smiled. Actually, the main body of my Mayfly race doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. We're not like the human race. The so-called men and women we speak of are only the forms we take when we're young. Xiaohua saw hundreds of blood pillars descending from above Indra's head. He clenched his fist. He wanted to kill Indra. However, the moment he made his move, an indescribable feeling arose in his heart. This feeling couldn't be explained. He snorted coldly and waved his hand. Indra's body flew dozens of miles away as if it was rotten. When Indra saw the ominous glint in Xiaohua's eyes, his heart had already turned cold. However, when he saw Xiaohua actually let him go, it was simply inconceivable. Then he looked at Xiaohua himself. His figure flashed, and he actually rushed towards the magnetic blood sphere. Io Daoist Xiao. Demonic banner. Sakura was also greatly alarmed in her heart. An indescribable feeling arose in her heart. She couldn't help but send a sound transmission. But whether Xiaohua heard this sound transmission or not, she didn't know. Seeing Xiaohua's figure submerged into the magnetic blood sphere without any suspense, and the hundreds of blood pillars also chased after him, Indra firmly believed that Xiaohua absolutely couldn't escape from the magnetic blood sphere alive. And she lost the demon flag. She would definitely be expelled from this demon formation by the demon commander and go to the Void Continent to complete a dangerous mission to atone for her crime. Even if Xiaohua could escape, Indra didn't think she would be able to see him again. But never in her wildest dreams would she have thought that one day, after who knew how many years later, in a place she still didn't know about, she would once again see those sword-like eyebrows and phoenix-like eyes that made her tremble in fear. Xiaohua had just let go of Sakura and pounced towards the magnetic blood ball. Hundreds of blood pillars rushed out from the magnetic blood ball and covered Xiaohua's body like a big hand, dragging him towards the magnetic blood ball. Even behind Xiaohua, the blood pillars controlled by the demon generals from the demon race also chased after him. However, amidst the rumbling of the blood pillar, Xiaohua could still faintly hear Sakura's voice. Demonic banner. Damn it. Xiaohua bitterly smiled. Is this also a kind of karma? Just because this Xiao released this puny demon general, he could use this demonic banner to escape from the demonic array? While he was pondering, the blood pillar fell down. Xiaohua didn't seem to be in any position, but his body was surrounded by thousands of lightning flowers. These lightning flowers were more effective than magic treasures. As long as the blood splashed on these lightning flowers, they would be destroyed by the lightning. However, what made Xiaohua somewhat puzzled was that his body was still attracted by a kind of enormous suction force from the magnetic blood ball and fell into it like a moth flying into a flame. Ooh! Xiaohua's figure fell into the blood river. First, there was a burst of ghost-like wailing and wolf-like howling sound. A group of blood demons scuttled out from the blood and pounced toward Xiaohua with bared fangs and brandished claws. If it was an ordinary cultivator, at this time, their magic power was insufficient and their body was controlled by the magnetic force. It was inevitable that they would be somewhat at a loss, but in Xiaohua's eyes, the blood demons were so unbearable. Green light flashed between Xiaohua's eyebrows, and layers of 3 corpses in thunder gushed out from Xiaohua's body. Kachacha! Under the thunder, who knew how many blood demons were instantly killed? However, Xiaohua flew towards the distant blood ball for half a cup of tea's time and still didn't see the pure magnetic force. Moreover, the blood demons were even more powerful and could already resist the soul cultivator's lightning flash and thunder roll technique. Xiaohua looked at these blood demons that were also flowing along the magnetic force's trajectory, and a thoughtful look appeared in his eyes. Needless to say, this magnetic blood ball was not only a part of the devil race's great formation, but also the place where the devil race used to refine the blood demons. If these blood demons were successfully refined by the magnetic blood ball, they would absolutely be a sharp weapon to exterminate human cultivators. Thinking of this, Xiaohua increased the number and range of 3 corpses in thunder. However, this magnetic blood ball was so big. Inside this devil race's formation, not only was Xiaohua's divine ability greatly restricted, but Xiaohua's injuries also didn't allow him to display his skills. Therefore, Xiaohua's several efforts were just a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. After another cup of tea's time, the blood sea gradually decreased, and a dark red space gradually appeared in front of Xiaohua's eyes. Xiaohua understood that this was the true magnetic space. Therefore, Xiaohua slapped his forehead and opened his delirium breaker Dharma eye. He saw 2 colors of green and black light that were as dazzling as the sun. However, within these 2 colors of green and black light, there were some small dots that seemed to be the color of blood. They were like some tenacious ants, flowing along the magnetic force's arc at every moment. This is wood and water magnetic force. Xiaohua saw these dazzling black and green arcs and immediately understood. He hastily closed his delirium breaker Dharma eye. However, the current Xiaohua didn't have time to think too much. He released his soul sense and urged the wind escape technique to fly towards the depths of the magnetic space. Although the influence of the wood and water magnetic force on his soul sense was small, Xiaohua still spent a great deal of effort to find that young cultivator who was previously sucked into the magnetic blood ball in a corner of the magnetic space. At this time, that young cultivator was in an abnormally sorry state. Not only was his Taoist robe torn, his hair was scattered, and even the protective brilliance around his body had completely disappeared. Moreover, the cultivator was already unable to resist the magnetic force of the magnetic space. His body was lying on top of the magnetic force, trembling. It seemed that if Xiaohua had arrived a moment later, that cultivator's life might have been lost. Seeing Xiaohua flying over, the cultivator clearly saw Xiaohua's appearance under the reflection of the bloody light. His face revealed extreme astonishment. "For you, I am Fortune Gate's Xiaohua, Taoist Master Xiaohua." Xiaohua answered with a smile. "Fortune Gate? When did my ruins have such a sect?" That cultivator was slightly stunned and asked in confusion. Xiaohua was also stunned, but soon understood. This cultivator wasn't sent out from the ruins, but from outside the ruins into the ruins. However, the ruins were now sealed by the devil race's demonic array. This cultivator's transmission array couldn't reach the ruins, so he appeared inside the demonic array. Therefore, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist doesn't need to know who I am. You only need to know that I am a human and can bring you out of here." You can bring I out? That cultivator was somewhat incredulous. Xiaohua urged, everything can wait until you and I get out. I also fell here because I was injured by the Devil Emperor during the battle with him. Just now, I happened to see fellow Taoist being shot down here by the Devil Generals, so I took the risk to come here. You and I must quickly escape from here, otherwise, if the Devil Emperor catches up, you and I will lose our lives. Many thanks, Taoist Master Xiao. That cultivator didn't have time to report his name. He raised his hand with difficulty and said, but I can't circulate my magic power right now, how can I go out with Taoist Master? Xiaohua said, you don't need to worry about this. This Xiao has a fake Kunlun mirror that can take fellow Taoist in. Later, when the Kunlun mirror sucks, fellow Taoist doesn't need to resist. This is no problem. That cultivator hurriedly nodded. I understand. Hearing this, Xiaohua hurriedly took out the Kunlun mirror and slightly circulated his magic power. That Kunlun mirror shot out a four-colored light beam. However, just as this light beam flew out, it immediately became chaotic. Some turned into an arc and flew away, while some fell into the magnetic field. Just as that cultivator's heart turned cold, a suction force wrapped around him. He hurriedly withdrew all his resistance. However, he felt a blur in front of his eyes, and his figure fell into a place rich in spiritual aura. After Xiaohua took in the young cultivator, he didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly used the method of collecting metal and wood magnets in the past and dripped 18 drops of blood essence between the two poles of the wood and water magnets. Fortunately, Xiaohua had the heavenly demon essence in his space, so he was able to take out 18 drops of blood essence not long ago. After dripping the blood essence, Xiaohua hurriedly took some wood essence crystals and water essence ice essence crystals from afar. He didn't have time to refine the blood threads in the wood essence crystals and water essence ice essence crystals. After casually throwing them into the space, he flew towards the sea of blood above his head. Behind Xiaohua, a black tortoise with red eyes and an azure dragon with some demonic patterns between its eyebrows flew out from the two poles. They coldly looked at him and then disappeared. After taking some medicinal pills, Xiaohua's body once again surged with lightning. His figure once again rushed out from the magnetic blood sea. The direction Xiaohua chose was different from when he came in. Instead, it was in the direction of the ruins. When Xiaohua came out of the magnetic blood array, there weren't any devils in front of him. Or it could be said that the distant devils didn't notice the sudden appearance of a human in the magnetic blood array. Xiaohua coldly smiled. His body once again surged with demonic aura. The demonic armor covered his entire body, and a genuine devil appeared out of thin air. However, just as Xiaohua stepped on the demonic cloud and rushed down about 3,000 zhang from the demonic array, an extremely faint devil sense suddenly appeared from all directions and swept toward Xiaohua. Although this devil sense carried the smell of blood, it didn't have the fierceness of an ordinary devil. Moreover, the range of this devil sense was very wide. It swept out from all directions of the demonic array. When this devil sense landed on Xiaohua's body, it immediately stopped. Waves of strange fluctuations appeared in the space around Xiaohua's body. Motherfucker, how is this possible? Just now, they didn't discover this Xiao. How can they discover this Xiao now? Xiaohua was greatly alarmed. He knew that he had been discovered by the devils. Therefore, he didn't care about concealing anything. His body shone brightly, and the demonic aura was swept away. Then, his entire figure turned into a shadow and disappeared among the devils. Chapter 41-47. Swish, 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 swish. With a light sound, a layer of ink-like darkness suddenly appeared within 1,000 li of the demonic array. In this darkness, a lightning-like trace appeared in an instant, and at the end of this trace, Xiaohua's figure appeared in a slightly sorry state. As soon as Xiaohua's figure appeared, his divine sense valiantly swept over 1,000 li range. Puff puff. A series of explosions sounded in all directions, and the low-level demons near Xiaohua were shattered by Xiaohua's divine sense. Strange. Xiaohua was a little baffled. There is no demon above the level of demon commander within 1,000 li. Which demon can restrict this old man's teleportation? Then, Xiaohua's figure flashed and disappeared again, and this time, his divine sense was left outside his body, paying attention to the strange scene in the surroundings. Sure enough, in just a moment, the demonic sense that swept over Xiaohua before moved again, and a pitch-black demon body appeared in the surrounding void along with the demonic sense, surrounding Xiaohua within 1,000 li, revealing the traces of Xiaohua's teleportation. Xiaohua teleported in the demonic array. At the beginning it was still easy, but in the end, the space seemed to be blocked by mud, and became more and more difficult to move. He had no choice but to use the lightning escape, and this was quite difficult to move 1,000 li. Looks like a demon discovered this Xiao, and then controlled the demonic array to stop this Xiao. At this time, Xiaohua already somewhat understood, but at this time, his figure had already reached the edge of the demonic array, and Xiaohua had already seen wisps of fire in the blood-colored darkness. Xiaohua's figure appeared, and with a wave of his hand, he took out the demonic banner he snatched from Indra's hand, and the demonic chi around his body surged into the demonic banner, and then, after a little test, hundreds of blood threads flashed on the demonic banner and fell on the blood array. The blood array slightly trembled, and then, according to the blood threads, it divided into hundreds of pieces, and these hundreds of pieces of the blood array began to tremble, gradually forming a whirlpool-like demon head. Once the demon head was formed, it actually opened its mouth and said coldly, "Human actually wants to pass off as a demon to pass through this senior's body, don't you think? You are too delusional?" As he spoke, a faint demonic sense rushed into the demonic banner in Xiaohua's hand along the blood threads. Boom boom. A series of muffled booms rang out as the demonic banner was easily destroyed by the demonic sense. At this moment, Xiaohua suddenly came to a realization and shouted in disbelief, "You are the devil spirit of the devil formation?" Ha! That spinning devil head laughs strangely, causing the surrounding devil array to tremble. You have been in this sovereign's body for so long, and you only found out now. Damn it! Xiaohua was somewhat aghast. He naturally lowered his head and looked around. In his heart, he really couldn't believe that such a large demonic array actually had intelligence. Moreover, it even formed a demonic spirit. If that was the case, then everything that had happened to him in the demonic array would make sense. Oh! Just at this time, a powerful devil sense that could overturn the sky appeared from afar like a hurricane, and a roar followed. "Xiaohua! You actually followed me to the demonic array? Then don't leave." Devil Emperor. Hearing this, Xiaohua couldn't help but smile bitterly. In front of him was a devil spirit of the demonic array whose depth was unknown, and behind him was a devil emperor whose strength surpassed his own. Although Xiaohua didn't know the extent of the devil emperor's injuries, Xiaohua was clear about his own situation. At this time, it was absolutely not suitable for him to fight. Otherwise, death was secondary. If he fell into the devil path, that would be terrible. Therefore, Xiaohua raised his hand and took out the Kunlun mirror. Rarely seen, an 8th-rank scattered nascent soul poured all of his true essence into the Kunlun mirror. Woo! The entire Kunlun mirror trembled, as if it was cheerfully chirping. On the surface of the Kunlun mirror, a faint blood light and flame appeared. There were several layers of blood light, but there was only one flame. The corner of Xiaohua's mouth slightly smiled. His index and middle fingers came together and formed a seal. His mouth also uttered a draconic voice, "Ha!" As Xiaohua's 2 fingers touched the flame on the Kunlun mirror, a several zhang large light beam came out of the Kunlun mirror and directly shone into the blood array. However, the strange thing was that the light beam seemed to fall into the blood wave in the devil flame, but the light beam didn't really touch the blood wave. It was as if the light beam opened a passage out of thin air. Damn it! Xiaohua sighed. This Xiao is now a cultivator before the Mahayana stage. I used all of my true essence of an 8th-rank scattered nascent soul to open the passage of the Kunlun mirror. Moreover, this passage seems to be only a few hundred li. If I want to really control this Kunlun mirror, I'm afraid it will be difficult to succeed without immortal spiritual power, right? Kunlun mirror, how can this guy be here? At this time, the devil spirit of the demonic array also roared. The blood array within 100 li surged and rushed towards the light beam of the Kunlun mirror. Unfortunately, no matter how the blood sea wreaked havoc, it couldn't touch the light beam. However, within 100 li of Xiaohua, a crazy devil chi was born. The devil emperor borrowed the power of the demonic array and caught up to Xiaohua in a moment. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. His figure moved the light beam into the Kunlun mirror. With a wave of his big sleeve, the Kunlun mirror disappeared into the demonic array along with the light beam. Chase. After a few breaths, Huang Yu's figure appeared. His face was full of anger. He only hesitated for a moment and shouted angrily. The blood array rushed out of the demonic array and covered him. It also disappeared. Outside the demonic formation, there was a huge formation that looked like a sea of fire that protected ruins. However, this formation wasn't as tight as the demonic formation. There were many flaws in it, and there were many elements of earth, fire, wind, and thunder that rushed out from the flaws. At this time, in the sky several li away from the demonic array, a four-colored halo flashed. That halo rapidly rotated and instantly formed a light ball. In a moment, Xiaohua's figure appeared in the light ball. When the light scattered, Xiaohua hurriedly looked back at the demonic array several hundred li away and released his divine sense. However, just as his divine sense landed on the demonic array soared with 100 zhang of flames and burned his divine sense. Damn it, how can this demonic array be my match? I'm not convinced. Xiaohua was a little helpless. His figure swayed and flew towards the location of the earth, fire, wind, and lightning. He also knew that it would not be long before the demonic emperor rushed out of the demonic array to kill him. After flying for a while, Xiaohua suddenly thought of something. He took out the Kunlun mirror and shook it, dragging that young cultivator out. The cultivator looked like he was adjusting his breathing. When he suddenly appeared, he was sitting cross-legged in the air. He did not even open his eyes. Xiaohua anxiously shouted, "Fellow Taoist, quickly come and help I have already escaped from the demonic array. However, under this demonic array, there is a Tao sect array. I'm not familiar with it. I wonder if fellow Taoist has any ideas?" The cultivator hurriedly opened his eyes. When he scanned with his divine sense, his expression changed greatly. He said in shock, This is the demonic array's realm protection array. What can I do?" As he spoke, the cultivator's divine sense naturally swept towards the demonic array above his head. Gee! A strange laugh came from the demonic array. Several strands of the cultivator's divine sense were actually devoured. Oh my God! When did the demonic array besiege my ruins? No wonder all the transmission arrays can't be used. The cultivator's face was really ashen. He looked at Xiaohua in surprise and cried out involuntarily. "You are walking into a trap." Xiaohua looked at this cultivator who was as unlucky as him. This cultivator must have thought of all sorts of ways to return to the ruins, but he didn't expect that what greeted him was a dead end. Ayo! At this time, 1,000 zhang tall demonic pillar rushed out from the demonic array in the distance. The demonic emperor stepped out on the clouds. "All right, I have a communication talisman. I don't know if it can be used." The cultivator suddenly woke up and hurriedly took out a jade talisman from the Sumeru ring. He activated his magic power and said, "After all, this realm protection array is rarely activated." "Oh no. Good, it can be used." "That's great." The communication talisman drew an arc in the air and disappeared into the array. The cultivator let out a long sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Taoist Master Xiao, don't worry. Wait until we enter the realm protection array. Not to mention the demonic emperor, even if the demonic master comes, we don't have to be afraid." Hearing this, Xiaohua understood that this cultivator definitely came back from other places in the cultivation world. If it was a cultivator from the ruins, no one would say such shameless words. If the realm protection array was useful, how could the demonic emperor avoid the array and sneak into the ruins? However, after a moment, Xiaohua frowned again and a new doubt arose. "That's not right. Since the demonic emperor of the demonic array can enter the ruins realm protection array, even if they sent the demonic array in bit by bit over the years, they would have sent all the demonic array in. Why are they guarding the demonic array? Could it be they want to finish it in one fell swoop? Kill all the cultivators in the ruins all at once? Only in this way can they collect more souls? But if that's the case, what about the wandering souls they killed over the years? Most of them have already been collected by this Shao. What else can they get? Forget it, I don't care so much. When I go back this time, I'll go to every corner of the ruins and pull the firewood from under the cauldron of the demonic array. Maybe the demonic array will withdraw when they see that there are no more wandering souls. Just as he was thinking, he saw a several hundred zhang long fire pillar rushing out of the realm protection array. A white-haired cultivator appeared in the fire pillar, holding the communication talisman that the young cultivator had sent out. The young cultivator didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "This one is Yang Chong, a disciple of the Misty School. I went out to gain experience and have just returned from the Taibai astral boundary. I was trapped in the demonic array. Fortunately, Taoist Master Shao of the Fortune Gate rescued me. Now that the two of us have escaped from the demonic array, the demonic emperor is chasing after us. Please let us enter the realm protection array." Oh! Who would have thought that the young cultivator's face would turn strange after hearing the young cultivator's words? His gaze actually pierced through the fire pillar and looked at Xiao Hua. Seeing that the cultivator guarding the realm protection array didn't answer and didn't open the realm protection array, Xiao Hua had a bad feeling in his heart. Chapter 41-48. Sure enough, as Xiao Hua expected, the old cultivator replied indifferently, "Yang Chong, don't blame I for being unreasonable. It's just that the ruins is facing an unprecedented crisis. For some reason, the devil race has been besieging the ruins for hundreds of years. In these hundreds of years, not only have the cultivators in the ruins not been able to go out, but none of the disciples outside the ruins have returned. This poor Taoist does not know how you were teleported back, but this poor Taoist knows that Xiao Hua possesses the devil race's cultivation technique. Previously, in Ping River, he fought with the devil emperor in front of your Misty Sect's sect master. He has the devil saber in his hand and scared the devil emperor away, and he himself disappeared into thin air. Now, he appeared here again. Yang Chong, do you think I will let you in? No way, right?" Yang Chong was shocked and looked at Xiao Hua with some disbelief. His figure actually flew back several meters with a vigilant face. Damn it. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at the cultivator inside the fire pillar. He really wanted to punch his nose and see what it looked like if his nose was crooked. Although he was an outer world cultivator, in order to kill the devil race in the ruins, he brought the Fortune Gate's disciples out of the Shenhua continent. In order to save the White Cloud Monastery and the other 8 sects in the southwest border, tens of thousands of Fortune Gate's disciples died. He was trapped by the heavenly demon for more than 10 years and experienced life and death. Xiao Hua believed that what he did was much more than a real ruins cultivator, but in the eyes of some people, these merits were not worth a trace of trust. He only revealed his devil body and devil saber. Moreover, this was to save hundreds of thousands, no, millions of Misty School's disciples. Just because of this suspicion, the cultivator in the realm protection array actually didn't let him in and let the devil emperor chase him. Xiao Hua's heart suddenly turned cold. Xiao Hua was even disappointed. He looked up at the devil array and calculated in his heart. With his strength, since he came here, he might be able to break through the devil array. If he could break through the devil array, then the world outside the devil array was huge. He already had the cultivation world's star chart in his hand. Although there was no transmission array to return to the hidden immortal continent, who knew if there were other places? Escaping would be better than dying here, right? However, this thought merely flashed through Xiao Hua's mind. After all, Sun Jian, his clones, and the several 100,000 Fortune Gate disciples fighting the devil army were still inside the ruins. Xiao Hua couldn't possibly abandon them and live alone. At this moment, another voice sounded beside his ear. Yang Chong flew over with an apologetic look on his face, as if he was embarrassed by his vigilance just now. Spiritual Master Xiao, I don't know what your identity is, but now I have no other choice. He could only choose to believe in the real person. Moreover, I also knew that if the Taoist master wanted I's life, he probably wouldn't even need to enter the magnetic space, for I would have already fallen. I am willing to advance and retreat together with Taoist Master Xiao. Yang Chong's words were very good, but Xiaohua didn't feel particularly comfortable listening to them. The reason was very simple. Xiaohua had already seen through Yang Chong's thoughts. After all, Yang Chong's thoughts were nothing more than two considerations. First, since Xiaohua could save Yang Chong from the magnetic blood array, it meant that Yang Chong had value. Xiaohua was still outside the realm protecting Grand Formation, so Yang Chong's value was still there. If Xiaohua wanted to use Yang Chong to enter the ruins, then he couldn't kill Yang Chong. Secondly, it was even simpler. Compared to the ferocious devil race, Xiaohua looked like a human and was pleasing to the eye. Compared to the murderous aura behind him, Yang Chong was willing to bet on his own moral standing and Xiaohua's moral standing. But Xiaohua looked at Yang Chong with a smile and said, "What if I have other intentions and want to use your identity to enter the ruins?" Yang Chong's face turned slightly red, then he raised his head and nodded vigorously, saying, "Yes, I do have an idea in my heart. Because I don't know Taoist Master at all. Although Taoist Master saved me from the devil array, Taoist Master Xiao was able to come and go freely in the devil array where devils were dancing wildly. Taoist Master Xiao was also able to come and go freely in the magnetic space where it was extremely difficult for human cultivators to get close. How could I not doubt Taoist Master's motives? However, I am also a human. I would rather die in the hands of a human like Taoist Master than die in the hands of a devil race." Although Xiaohua nodded, his eyes flickered again. He ignored the devil sense that had already swept over him. After Yang Chong finished speaking, he raised his voice to the cultivator inside the fire pillar and said, "I risked my life to teleport back from the Taibai astral boundary because I have an important message to send back. Since I can't return to the Misty School at this time, I ask fellow Taoists to spread this message to the various sects in the ruins." "Then, please speak, fellow Taoist Yang." The cultivator inside the fire pillar nodded indifferently, unmoved. Yang Chong looked at the devil emperor in the distance who was chasing over. His face turned slightly red and he said loudly, "This Yang has received a top-secret message. The moon god realm may have already experienced a great desolate star storm. Although the ruins are remote, it will be destroyed by this great desolate star storm sooner or later. I ask all the sects in the ruins to make early plans. And I know. I will definitely report this to the assembly hall." A trace of shock appeared on the cultivator's face as he transmitted his voice. Then, the old cultivator looked at Xiaohua again. At this time, the flames around the cultivator inside the fire pillar began to sway. Obviously, he was affected by the Devil Emperor's devil sense. However, the old cultivator's voice also came, "Taoist Master Xiao, it's not that I don't believe you. I also don't want to believe you. After all, your Fortune Gates fight in the southwest border is obvious to all the cultivators in the ruins. However, I don't have the qualifications to believe you. Even more so, I don't have the qualifications to let you in. I protect the great boundary protecting formation, and I shoulder the lives of hundreds of millions of human cultivators in the ruins. I can't act on my own. I only have two questions for Taoist Master Xiao. First, if you were in my place, would Taoist Master Xiao dare to let me and Yang Chong into the formation? Second, is other people's opinion more important, or is your own action more important?" At this point, the fire pillar's flames suddenly extinguished, and the cultivator's figure also disappeared along with the flames. "Ah!" Xiaohua first lowered his head, then clapped his hands and laughed loudly. "I act on my own will, my will is my heart is Ren Xiaoyao, who cares if the sky collapses or the earth sinks?" With that, Xiaohua waved his sleeve and covered Yang Chong, saying, "Yang Chong, if you believe this Xiao, then don't resist. Sensing the powerful magic power that completely confined him, Yang Chong smiled bitterly and said, Taoist Master Xiao, although this one wants to struggle, I'm not as strong as Taoist Master Xiao. Xiao Hua smiled slightly and didn't say anything more. Carrying Yang Chong, the universe in the sleeve flashed brilliantly, and once again he appeared on top of the earth, fire, wind and thunder formation extremely far away. However, Xiao Hua's eyes swept and he teleported again, not stopping at all. This happened a few times, and when the Devil Emperor rushed over with a roar, Xiao Hua had already kept Yang Chong into the Kunlun mirror. Devil Qi once again appeared on his body, and he rushed into the earth, fire, wind and thunder formation along the path of the Devil Qi from before. The Devil Emperor pounced over, and just as he was about to get close to the earth, fire, wind and thunder formation, boom! Tens of thousands of fire crows flew out from the huge fire pillar and pounced on the Devil Emperor. The Devil Qi around the Devil Emperor surged, and several devil arms formed from white bones waved their devil weapons. Devil flames overflowed into the sky and extinguished some of the fire crows, but the rest of the fire crows still pounced on the Devil Emperor and devoured the Devil Qi around him. The Devil Emperor hesitated for a moment, and with a pooh, he spat out a mouthful of dirty blood, extinguishing dozens of fire crows near him. Then, he looked at the earth, fire, wind and thunder formation with hatred, and said in bewilderment, "This Xiao Hua is a little strange. How did he know that this was the place where the devil formation attacked the ruins? Previously, in order to conceal this place, this emperor urged the devil formation to attack at thousands of earth, fire, wind and thunder formations. Damn it, after Xiao Hua passes through here today, this loophole will definitely be discovered by the human race. If this emperor wants to enter the ruins again, it will be a lot more troublesome. Damn it, really damn it." As he spoke, the realm protection formation of the ruins surged with a monstrous sea of fire, and groups of fire crows and many fire attribute magic weapons surrounded it with a terrifying aura. Seeing this momentum, the Devil Emperor gritted his teeth and urged the devil clouds to fly toward the devil formation. Even after the Demon Emperor left, the sea of fire didn't stop. It continued to howl as it obscured the earth, fire, wind, and lightning in the area. A dozen or so streaks of dazzling light revolved around the earth, fire, wind, and lightning several times before finally disappearing. The passageway inside the earth, fire, wind, and thunder formation was far simpler than Xiao Hua thought. He urged the Devil Qi, and very keenly sensed the aura of the Devil Qi passageway that hadn't disappeared yet, so he landed in it extremely easily. Although the earth, fire, wind, and thunder formation in the surroundings was constantly burning and blowing away the Devil Qi on Xiao Hua's body, this wasn't considered dangerous for Xiao Hua. However, in just a moment, a stream of fire several times stronger than the earth, fire, wind, and thunder formation began to appear behind Xiao Hua. Damn it! Xiao Hua cursed inwardly. How could he not know that this was the realm protection formation that patched up the flaws of the earth, fire, wind, and thunder formation? Cursing was one thing, but Xiao Hua wasn't willing to contend against the might of this realm protection formation. He hurriedly focused his mind and urged his figure to quickly escape, but in the sky several tens of thousands of kilometers away from Ping River, a stream of Devil Qi flashed within the earth, fire, wind, and thunder formation. Then, another stream of fiery light rolled out. Whoosh! The Devil Qi was instantly swept away by the fiery light, and a thin human figure flashed out from within the Devil Qi. Wasn't that Xiao Hua? At this time, Xiao Hua was in a somewhat sorry state, but there was a smile on his face. He turned his head to look at the fiery light within the earth, fire, wind, and thunder formation and spat. Then, he flew to the nearest mountain peak. Xiao Hua released his divine sense, but he couldn't see where he was, so he let Yang Chong out of the Kunlun mirror. Yang Chong looked to his left, and joy appeared on his face. He bowed and said, "Junior thanks Spiritual Master Xiao for saving my life." No need to say anything more. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "First, tell me about that great desolate star storm in the moon god realm. When will it arrive? How powerful is this great desolate star storm, and how will it affect the ruins? Chapter 41-49. Oh! Hearing this, Yang Chong hurriedly explained, the so-called star explosion is when a planet like the ruins explodes for some reason. Of course, the planet must be big enough. The explosion of such a big planet will create a shockwave, and this kind of power of heaven and earth will spread in all directions. If there are no other planets around the planet, the shockwave will become smaller and smaller, and finally disappear. But if there are other planets affected before the shockwave subsides, that planet will also explode. Then the shockwave will increase again. This old man understands. Xiao Hua nodded. If the shockwave is big enough, the entire moon god realm will be destroyed by this star explosion? That's right. Yang Chong hurriedly nodded and said, but this junior is also not sure about this news. After all, the moon god realm is almost boundless for void refinement cultivators like us. Who knows where this star explosion will come from? But since this junior knows this news, I can't not send it to the Misty School. All communication methods and teleportation channels can't be used. This junior just remembered that the Misty School had a teleportation array in Taibai Star Realm a long time ago that was no longer in use. Forget it, no need to say any more. If this star explosion is real, how long will it take to reach the ruins? Xiao Hua waved his hand, stopping Yang Chong from explaining again. Yang Chong hesitated for a moment and said, at most 10,000 years. Xiao Hua understood and said thoughtfully, this is the size of the moon god realm, right? Yang Chong answered honestly. This is the estimation of some seniors. This junior doesn't know. Xiao Hua didn't ask any more about this matter. He looked around and said with a smile, where is this place, do you know? Yang Chong had already released his consciousness. After looking for a moment, he pointed in a direction and said, this place is more than 70,000 miles from Ping River. My Misty School's teleportation array is not far from here. Xiao Hua looked in the direction Yang Chong pointed, and said with a smile, let's go, this old man will go with you to Ping River. There's no need to use any teleportation array. This old man wants to ask Lu Wuxia, when did this old man's good intentions turn into ill intent? Yes. Yang Chong knew that Xiao Hua was angry in his heart, but he didn't dare to say anything, let alone release a messaging talisman, so he answered in a low voice. Xiao Hua's eyes flashed with a fierce light. With a wave of his sleeve, he first imprisoned Yang Chong, then activated the lightning escape technique and flew towards Ping River. As expected, after Xiao Hua flew for a while, he didn't see Ping Jiang. He also couldn't find any trace of Ping Jiang with his spiritual force. Xiao Hua knew that he had flown in the wrong direction. Just as he was about to release Yang Chong, he saw a white-robed scholar with a sword at his waist flying towards a certain direction. Xiao Hua landed in front of this white-robed scholar. Ah! Xiao Hua's sudden appearance startled the white-clothed scholar. But seeing Xiao Hua's appearance, the white-clothed scholar immediately bowed and saluted. Junior Misty School's Yang Haoya greets Senior Xiao. Junior thanks Taoist for saving my Misty School. Get up. Xiao Hua's heart warmed. He helped this disciple up and said with a smile, where are you going? Junior knew that the sect was besieged by the demon race and hurriedly rushed back to Ping River. Junior's cultivation is limited. Although Junior used the transmission formation, I still couldn't make it back. Yang Haoya hurriedly replied, but Junior also received a message from the sect on the way back. I know Senior's spirit of bravely fighting 2 demon emperors on Ping River. Xiao Hua asked with interest. Hee, Yang Haoya, don't forget, this old man might be a spy of the demon race. Spy? Yang Haoya stared blankly for a moment, then laughed. That's the gossip of people with ulterior motives. If Senior was a spy, the Southwest sect would have already fallen into the hands of the demon race. The ruins would have already fallen. How could my Misty School still have a place for Junior to stay? Xiao Hua nodded slightly, then asked again, which direction is the Misty School? Although Yang Haoya was astonished, he didn't dare to ask too much. He pointed to the direction in front of him and said, there's still 30,000 li ahead. There's a small transmission formation of my misty school, no need. Follow this Xiao and fly there. This time, Xiaohua didn't dare to use the universe creator. He just raised his hand and grabbed, bringing Yang Haoya to fly in that direction. Naturally, he was corrected twice by Yang Haoya. Xiaohua's divine sense finally saw the familiar Ping River. Soon after, Xiaohua flew for a moment and released Yang Chong and Yang Haoya. Seeing Yang Chong appear, Yang Haoya stared blankly for a moment, then hurriedly bowed and said, "Granduncle, disciple Yang Haoya greets Granduncle. Why did you suddenly return to Ping River?" Yang Chong naturally didn't recognize Yang Haoya. Yang Haoya explained a few more words before Yang Chong helped him up. Originally, he wanted to explain something, but Xiaohua said impatiently, "Let's return to Ping River first." "Yes, senior." Yang Chong knew that Xiaohua was in a bad mood, but he still nodded and followed Xiaohua to Ping River. At this time, the smoke of war in Ping River had yet to settle. The chaotic yuan qi of heaven and earth and the remnant devil qi were tangled together, and the unpleasant smell of blood still assailed the nostrils. Xiaohua also sensed that there were many wandering souls nearby that couldn't fall into the 9 springs. They were still lingering around Ping River. Xiaohua wasn't in the mood to collect these wandering souls. He only looked at the flashing lights of the dozens of big cities in the distance and flew forward. The appearance of Xiaohua and the other two immediately attracted the attention of the patrolling disciples. Several people came forward to greet them, and several people hurriedly flew away to report. Not long after, many disciples came forward to greet them. Unsurprisingly, all of the disciples had gratitude in their eyes, and the reverence on their faces didn't have any hypocrisy. Looking at these disciples, although there was still some anger in Xiaohua's heart, he felt that his previous efforts were worth it. He also felt that the injuries on his back were gradually getting better. Although the cultivators of the Misty School had different opinions about Xiaohua's devil arts, they were all afraid of Xiaohua. When they heard that Xiaohua had survived the attack of 2 devil emperors and even appeared in Ping River again, although the disciple who reported didn't say anything, everyone could see that Xiaohua was condemning them. Therefore, when the vice sect leader Lien brought a group of Misty School cultivators to welcome Xiaohua, he had a respectful expression on his face, but his heart was on tenterhooks. Xiaohua's divine sense swept over, and when he saw that Lu Wuxia wasn't among them, he couldn't help but frown. The vice sect leader Lien hurriedly went forward and bowed. "Greetings to Taoist Xiao. Junior represents the disciples of the Misty School to thank Taoist Xiao for his help." The other cultivators who came to welcome Xiaohua also bowed and thanked him. Xiaohua raised his hand, and a barrier appeared out of thin air, blocking their salutes. Xiaohua said indifferently, "I don't dare to accept this. I might be a human devil heart, but I joined hands with 2 devil emperors to put on a show in front of the Misty School. I don't deserve any thanks." The vice sect leader Lien and the others' faces were burning, and they stood there awkwardly. They couldn't continue to bow, and when they stood up, they felt embarrassed. "Where is Lu Wuxia?" Xiaohua didn't feel like talking to them anymore, so he withdrew his magic and asked. The vice sect leader Lien took the opportunity to bow, stood up and said, "Taoist Xiao, our sect leader was seriously injured in the battle with the Devil Emperor, and is currently in seclusion to heal her injuries." "Oh, sect leader Lu Wuxia was injured?" Xiaohua was slightly surprised. The vice sect leader Lien hurriedly told him what happened after Xiaohua disappeared, and finally said, "If Taoist Xiao has something important to say, Junior can send a message to the sect leader." "No need." Xiaohua waved his hand. "It seems that the Devil Emperor really wants to destroy the Misty School. After being injured by this old man, he still wants to attack. Since sect leader Lu is injured, let her heal quickly. Who knows when the Devil Emperor will attack again? At that time, without this Xiao and the Devil Emperor's cooperation to put on a show, I'm afraid the Misty School will be in trouble." "Yes." The vice sect leader Lien nodded, and glanced at the several disciples beside him who lowered their heads in silence. The anger in his heart was very obvious. The vice sect leader Lien thought for a moment, and then glanced at Yang Chong and Yang Haoya beside Xiaohua, and said in a low voice, "Senior, please come to the hall and serve tea." "No need." Xiao Hua waved his hand again and was about to leave. How could Yang Chong not understand the vice sect leader Lian's intention? He didn't go forward to bow, wasn't it because he was waiting for this opportunity? Yang Chong hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Taoist Master Xiao, you saved this junior from the devil array. This junior has nothing to repay you with. Now that you are leaving, this junior will inevitably leave a knot in his heart. How about inviting Taoist Master Xiao to sit in the hall? This junior will offer you a cup of spiritual tea as a token of my thanks. Xiao Hua frowned and hesitated. Xiao Hua had always been soft-hearted. Even if it was a request from an ordinary person, he would still consider it. Not to mention Yang Chong's words in front of the realm-protecting Great Array made Xiao Hua admire him very much. Seeing that there was hope, he hurriedly bowed to the vice sect leader Lian. Vice sect leader Lian, martial uncles, this disciple has brought back an extremely bad news. Please report it to the Lingxiang Hall. This matter is a bit tricky. Perhaps Taoist Master Xiao can be of some help to our Misty School. Ah! The vice sect leader Lian was stunned. Looking at Yang Chong and Xiao Hua, he said in a low voice, could it be that the devil race is going to launch a large-scale attack? Compared to the devil race, it's even more serious. Yang Chong said, not daring to say more. After all, the news of the great desolate star storm was too shocking. If an ordinary disciple knew about it, it would be hard to avoid panic. How could they still have the mind to fight against the devil race? Then, the vice sect leader Lian's face showed a slightly exaggerated nervousness. Looking at Xiao Hua in a low voice, he said, Taoist Master Xiao, sect leader Lu is currently in seclusion. Junior, the burden on Junior's shoulders is somewhat heavy. This matter is so serious. Taoist Master came from the outside world. You must have a lot of experience. Is it possible for you to give Junior advice? All right. Xiao Hua slightly nodded. The vice sect leader Lian was overjoyed, hurriedly bringing Xiao Hua and a group of cultivators into the main hall. Everyone took a seat, and a disciple served spirit tea. Yang Chong took the spirit tea with both hands, respectfully offering it in front of Xiao Hua, thanking Xiao Hua for saving his life. Xiao Hua took the spirit tea, took a sip, and said with a smile, all right, you don't have to be polite in the future. You rushed back to the Misty School from afar and brought back this important news. Just based on this action, this old man will definitely save you. Chapter 4150. This is what Junior should do. Yang Chong hurriedly said with a smile, after all, Junior is a disciple of the Misty School and a cultivator of the ruins. Xiao Hua nodded and looked around. Finally, his gaze fell on Vice Head Lian and said, Vice Head Lian, this Xiao already knows about the news brought back by Yang Chong. This matter is indeed troublesome, so the fewer people who know, the better. Leave the necessary people behind, the rest can leave first. Yes, Junior understands. Vice Head Lian invited Xiao Hua in, not necessarily without the intention of pulling the banner. Hearing Xiao Hua's words, he looked left and right. Only 2 of the cultivators were left, and the rest were allowed to leave the hall. Xiao Hua looked at the disappearing figures of the crowd with a sneer on his face. Needless to say, the ones who were gossiping behind their backs were definitely some of these cultivators. Vice Head Lian probably also knew the meaning of his words, so he indirectly revealed the Misty School's intention to Xiao Hua. After Vice Head Lian activated the hall's restriction, Yang Chong told him about the great desolate star outbreak. Although he repeatedly emphasized that this news was not confirmed, Vice Head Lian and the other 2 Misty School cultivators' faces still turned ashen. Although there were many groundless rumors in this world, how could this kind of news that could wipe out a star field, a world surface, casually appear? Vice Head Lian looked at the 2 cultivators who were also dumbfounded and asked Xiao Hua, Taoist Xiao, what do you think about this matter? Xiao Hua shrugged and said with a smile, this Xiao has never encountered such a thing, and this Xiao has never heard of it. The reason why this Xiao stayed, besides Yang Chong, was to see if your Misty School has any countermeasures. After all, this Xiao also has a group of disciples who are facing such a calamity. All right. Vice Head Lian was a little disappointed. He turned to the other 2 cultivators and said, Taoist Xiao, this matter cannot be decided. Junior needs to ask sect head to come out of seclusion, and go. Xiaohua said with a smile, if sect head Lu has any good ideas, my fortune gate may be able to benefit from it. Taoist Xiao, please wait a moment. Yang Chong stood up apologetically and left with the two cultivators, leaving only Yang Chong to accompany Xiaohua in the hall. Xiaohua glanced at Yang Chong and asked meaningfully, at this point, do you have any regrets? Yang Chong smiled and said, actually, Junior had already regretted it a little when we were in the demonic array. After all, if this Junior didn't personally send a message back, this Junior wouldn't have fallen into this hopeless situation. Speaking up to this point, Yang Chong's tone became heavier. When this Junior met Yang Haoya and the juniors of the Misty School, this Junior's regret was already gone. Junior's life and death are no longer important. As long as Junior's nephew can survive, Junior is already satisfied. Sigh, that's right. Xiaohua sighed. This is the difference between our human race and the devil race. A spirit will pass on the torch. After he finished speaking, Xiaohua raised his hand and took out a jade bottle. He usually had some injuries, so he wouldn't take too many pills. But this time was different. The two demon emperors were too strong, and the injuries in his body couldn't heal for a long time. He had no choice but to rely on the strength of pills. After Xiao Chen finished eating, Yang Chong asked with concern, Senior Xiao, are your injuries serious? My Misty School's healing pills are also famous in the ruins. Hee. Xiaohua smiled and waved his hand. Your Misty School's pills may be famous, but they may not be suitable for this old man. Speaking up to this point, Xiaohua raised his hand and took out a few jade bottles. The jade bottles fell in front of Yang Chong and said, these are the healing pills this old man refined. Take them. Yang Chong was overjoyed. He hurriedly took them and carefully put them away. Then Xiaohua thought for a moment and asked, Yang Chong, if we can repel the devil race, even without the transmission array, the cultivators of the ruins should be able to escape this star explosion, right? Yang Chong was slightly stunned and said with some confusion, what does senior mean? This junior doesn't understand. What this old man means is, the transmission array of the ruins seems to have been destroyed by the devil race. Even if the devil race is defeated, the cultivators of the ruins can't rely on the transmission array to leave the ruins and go to other star fields. Then, can they rely on the flying boat or flying their physical body to escape this disaster? Xiaohua still didn't understand flying in a star field. Thinking about his previous encounter in the demonic array, he had this doubt. Although Yang Chong was a little surprised, he still explained, Senior should know that flying through the star field is not as simple as you think. First, there is no heaven and earth origin energy in the star field. Human cultivators can only rely on their own abilities and can't fly too far. Second, the star field looks very peaceful, but there are many dangers inside. Spatial cracks, dust storms, or strange beasts in the starry sky. None of them can be dealt with casually. Third, there is no direction in the star field. Even if you have a star chart in your hand, it is not easy to find the right path. If you have a flying boat, it may be better than flying with your physical body. However, ordinary flying boats are not much better than cultivators, let alone crossing realms. Xiaohua listened thoughtfully and nodded from time to time. The difficulties of flying in the starry sky mentioned by Yang Chong were nothing to him. Although he had never really flown in the starry sky, he could recognize the direction in the void, so he should be able to do the same in the starry sky. Moreover, he had a star chart. The only difficulty now was the danger in the star field, and whether he could fly out of the moon god realm before the arrival of the star field. While Xiaohua was thinking, the vice sect master came in with two more cultivators. Lu Wuxie was not among them, but at this time, the three cultivators no longer had the previous panic on their faces. Instead, it was replaced by a slight smile. It was obvious that they had a card up their sleeve. Oh! Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, could it be that sect master Lu already has a countermeasure? Heh. Yang Chong nodded and explained, my sect master said that even if the star field comes, it will be thousands of years later. Why are we panicking now? Moreover, my sect master also complained that the star field came too late. If it came now, all the devils would be killed by now. Xiaohua was surprised and asked, Sect Master Lu seems to have the confidence to escape from the star field? She is still in seclusion? The current crisis is that the devil race is besieging us. My sect master naturally has to treat her injuries first. A cultivator at the side said with a smile, but Senior Xiao doesn't need to worry. My sect master has already agreed to let Senior and the disciples of the Fortune Gate use our Misty School's secret teleportation formation to leave the Moon God realm. Secret teleportation formation? Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad premonition and hurriedly asked, weren't the teleportation formations of the ruins destroyed by the devil race? No matter how secret your Misty School's teleportation formation is, Xiaohua did not finish his words, but the suspicion in his words was very obvious. Vice Sect Master Lien smiled and waved an ancient magic tool in his hand, saying, my sect master has already bestowed this magic tool. Taoist Xiao, please follow this junior to verify it. But Xiaohua nodded. Looking at the magic tool flying in the Vice Sect Master's hand, he did not have much hope in his heart, because he had already seen the power of the devil formation. He knew that the devil formation already had its own intelligence. What was a devil spirit? Perhaps no one in the ruins understood it better than him. The devil spirit Xiaohua was a clear proof. Even the Vice Sect Master didn't bring along Yang Chong and the other two. He only brought Xiaohua to the depths of the city, to a seemingly ordinary garden. Xiaohua's divine sense swept through the garden, but he couldn't find anything unusual. However, there were no Misty School disciples within a few li of the garden. Even the disciples on duty in the surrounding palaces were very few. Vice Sect Master Lien activated the magic tool in his hand while explaining, Taoist Xiao, this is my Misty School's forbidden area. Without the sect master's permission, no one can come close. Xiaohua slightly nodded. His gaze landed on the magic tool in Vice Sect Master Lien's hand. He saw that this magic tool was in a flat oval shape, like a spindle. Under the urging of Vice Sect Master Lien's magic power, this magic tool was suffused with two colors of brilliance. The green color turned into a spinning shape, and the dark green color turned into a flowing water shape. The two colors of brilliance rushed into the air and turned into a pagoda. Immediately after, from the left palace hall, a total of 9 ripples rushed out, respectively landing on the 9 floors of the pagoda. Then, the pagoda began to tremble slightly. Boom! The two colors of brilliance actually let out a thunderous sound and once again fell into the magic tool. At this time, it was as if Vice Sect Master Lien was struck by lightning. The true qi in his body surged into the magic tool like a flood. In a short moment, Vice Sect Master Lien's face turned somewhat pale. Go! Seeing that the magic tool also had the shape of a pagoda, Vice Sect Master Lien hurriedly pointed at the magic tool and chanted an incantation. Woo! The magic tool immediately fell into the garden. Following the magic tool's fall, the entire garden began to change. The entire garden began to slowly rotate. Regardless of whether it was flowers, grass, or mountain rocks, everything was twisted into a whirlpool. A pitch-black passage, emitting a desolate aura, appeared in front of Xiaohua and Vice Sect Master Lien. Senior Xiao, please. Vice Sect Master Lien looked at it for a moment and raised his hand to indicate that he would be the first to jump in. Xiaohua's divine sense entered to take a look. He discovered that his divine sense was actually blocked by a layer of strange restriction. Thus, he also urged his body to follow behind Vice Sect Master Lien. The passage was very long. Xiaohua and Vice Sect Master Lien flew for no less than half a cup of tea's time before a huge palace door appeared in front of them. In front of the palace door, the magic tool from before had already turned into a spindle shape and stopped in midair. Vice Sect Master Lien took the magic tool and opened his mouth to spit out a mouthful of blood essence. Several special seals were cast on the blood essence, and the blood essence transformed into the two characters, ethereal. See. Looking at these two simple characters, Xiaohua suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. This was because when these two blood-colored characters fell into Xiaohua's eyes, they unexpectedly gave off a long-lasting sense of familiarity. However, without waiting for Xiaohua to look again, Vice Sect Master Lien pushed with both hands and the two characters fell on both sides of the palace door. Boom! A layer of blood color flashed on top of the jasper door. Then, as if a spring breeze blew past, the entire door grew many flowers and plants, surrounding Xiaohua and Vice Sect Master Lien. Chapter 4151. Xiaohua scanned with his divine sense and his expression changed. This was because these flowers and plants contained a great amount of power. Moreover, the entire flower and plant seemed to be an extremely strange great array. This great array did not lose to the innate divine restriction and was even more powerful than the Misty School's great array. Vice Sect Master Lien did not panic. He raised his hands and pointed at the flowers and plants in front of him like a butterfly. Xiaohua could see that Vice Sect Master Lien was sending out magic power to the places he pointed at. Moreover, the magic power was different. After Vice Sect Master Lien pointed at 365 places, shwa, the entire flower and plant great array disappeared as if it was washed away. Moreover, the jade door opened at an unknown time. Who? Vice Sect Master Lien let out a long breath. He turned his head and said with a bitter smile, Taoist Xiao, please don't laugh at this junior. This is the flower touch technique that all the disciples of my Misty School must cultivate. This junior did not know what it was used for. Who would have thought that it would be used here? This junior has not practiced this flower touch technique for several hundred years. When I used it, it was actually somewhat jerky. Let's go in. Xiaohua smiled. He understood that Vice Sect Master Lien was hinting that this technique was a secret of the Misty School. He hoped that Xiaohua would not remember it. Senior, please. Vice Sect Master Lien led Xiaohua into the main hall. The main hall's door had a divine sense restriction. When Xiaohua entered the main hall, he could clearly see the main hall's situation. Xiaohua could not help but be surprised, because inside the main hall was not a hall. Instead, it was a huge space that was at least 1,000 li wide. In this space, a huge bluestone teleportation array was quietly floating in the center. Although this teleportation array did not have any brilliance, a strange desolate aura was emitted from the bluestone. Vice Sect Master Lien looked at Xiaohua's astonishment and proudly said, Senior, this teleportation array was specially built by the ancestors of my Misty School for the disciples of my Misty School after they entered the Moon God Palace. According to my sect master, it can directly lead to the Taibai astral boundary. So that's how it is. No wonder the Misty School has a realm-crossing teleportation formation. Xiaohua came to a sudden realization and a pensive expression appeared on his face. This teleportation array consumes a lot of primordial stones to use, and it will also cause strange phenomena, so my sect master has warned us not to use the teleportation array. We can only check if it can be used. You go ahead and check. Xiaohua nodded, then asked, How about this old man also go and take a look? Vice Sect Leader Lien thought for a while and nodded, No problem. As a result, Xiaohua's figure floated into the transmission array and carefully examined it. Even the Vice Sect Master flew to the top of the transmission array and struck out a series of hand seals. Along with the hand seals, every part of the bluestone transmission array flashed with a milky white brilliance. After half a meal's worth of time, even the Vice Sect Master stopped and looked at Xiaohua with a smile on his face. Naturally, Xiaohua had finished reading long ago. At this moment, seeing that Vice Sect Leader Lien had stopped, he opened his mouth and said, Vice Sect Leader Lien, this old man suggests that you activate the transmission array. Although there is no problem with the transmission array, it does not mean that the transmission channel will not be destroyed by the demons. Yes, this junior has already checked. Vice Sect Leader Lien said with a smile, This transmission array is not only in good condition, but the transmission channel is also completely normal. But with the hand seals you just used? Xiaohua did not know whether to laugh or cry. Vice Sect Leader Lien looked at Xiaohua strangely, puzzled. Could it be that you have to activate the transmission array to know if the transmission channel is normal? My ruins transmission array is checked like this. Xiaohua's eyes turned a few times, but he did not comment, and asked again, is there anything else you want to check, Vice Sect Leader Lien? Vice Sect Leader Lien answered honestly. Good. Xiaohua smiled and said, you are fine, but this old man still has something to do. Senior, what else do you want? Vice Sect Leader Lien was stunned, and at this moment, Xiaohua waved his big sleeve and used the heaven and earth sleeve technique, immediately imprisoning Vice Sect Leader Lien. Vice Sect Leader Lien was stunned. He really did not know what Xiaohua was doing, and he also did not expect Xiaohua to suddenly attack. However, in just a moment, Vice Sect Leader Lien's face changed greatly, as if he had thought of something. However, at this time, everything did not allow him to resist. Xiaohua raised his hand and waved, sending Vice Sect Leader Lien out of the palace door, and then his hands formed a hand seal, and a hand seal was released. Vice Sect Leader Lien stood outside the palace door in a daze, and in his heart, there was a kind of rejoicing that he was not killed by Xiaohua at that time. Of course, in addition to this rejoicing, Vice Sect Leader Lien was also somewhat regretting that he trusted Xiaohua too much. Although the palace door was open, there was a restriction on the palace door, and no matter the brilliance or the roar of the palace, the people outside the palace could not hear it. After waiting for a full meal's time, Xiaohua walked out of the palace door and looked at the pale Vice Sect Leader Lien. Xiaohua waved his big sleeve and released the restriction on Vice Sect Leader Lien, and said indifferently, this old man's matter is done, we can go now. Vice Sect Leader Lien whispered, Senior Xiao, what matter do you have? Nothing. Xiaohua did not answer Vice Sect Leader Lien's question, and said, you go in and see if there is any damage to your Misty School's transmission array. But Vice Sect Leader Lien had long wanted to go in, and after hearing Xiaohua's words, he hurriedly flew in. But in that space, the huge transmission array was still quietly floating in the air, but the whole space was filled with active heaven-earth origin chi and some chaotic fluctuations, as if it had just been activated. Vice Sect Leader Lien thought of what Xiaohua had said before, and immediately understood what Xiaohua had just done. He was somewhat ashamed, and after checking the transmission array's situation, he flew out of the palace, wanting to ask about the transmission array's situation. Unfortunately, when he flew out of the palace, where was Xiaohua's figure? Vice Sect Leader Lien's heart tightened, and he hurriedly chased out, but unfortunately, until he returned to the Lingxiang Palace, he still did not see Xiaohua. I'm afraid Senior Xiao has already left the Misty School. Vice Sect Leader Lien sat on the jade chair, looking at the empty palace and secretly thought, but my Misty School's transmission array, can it be used normally? Misty School's transmission array obviously could not be used. Otherwise, Xiaohua would not have left in such a hurry to avoid Vice Sect Leader Lien's questioning. However, Xiaohua also understood as long as he did not say anything, Vice Sect Leader Lien and the entire Misty School's heart would have a kind of luck, or perhaps a kind of hope. With this kind of hope and luck, these disciples would have the courage to fight the demons to the end. Xiaohua flew out of Ping River, and after identifying the direction, he prepared to go to the transmission array, but after flying for a moment, he found a familiar figure going to the same transmission array as him. Xiaohua landed next to that person, and said with a smile, Yang Haoya, are you going to the transmission array? Io, Senior Xiao. Yang Haoya was shocked, and hurriedly stopped, bowed and said, Senior, why don't you stay in my Misty School for a few more days? Why are you leaving in such a hurry? I only scolded them a few words, don't tell me I really want to vent my anger on them? Xiaohua replied with a smile, I already scolded them, so why am I not leaving? When your sect leader comes out, I'm afraid he will regain his face. He. Yang Haoya smiled. The they Xiaohua mentioned were his elders. He did not dare to say anything behind his back. Don't tell me you also want to leave the Misty School? Xiaohua waved his hand, indicating Yang Haoya to continue flying forward, and asked again. Yang Haoya nodded and said, Junior and a few good friends are in a small team. We were ordered by the conference hall to patrol the vicinity of Leha Mountain. Because Junior heard about the matter of the sect, Junior was worried, so Junior hurriedly returned. Now that the sect is fine, Junior naturally has to rush to Leha Mountain to meet up with my friends. Hee, not bad. Xiaohua praised. As long as the Misty School has a disciple like you, even if there will be a big change in the future, it will be because of you. The fire seed will be able to regain its glory? Senior Xiao? Yang Haoya was slightly startled and asked, Senior, what do you mean? Nothing, I'm just lamenting. Xiaohua smiled and asked, Who are your good friends? Seeing that Xiaohua did not say anything, Yang Haoya was also helpless and could only reply, Junior's team has 12 people. They are the disciples of the Misty School, Shandao Sect, Fragrance Cult, Heavy Flow Sect, Immortal Herding Sect, Yanhong Hall, Jingfei Mountain, and other sections. Among them, Junior and Shandao Sect's Wan Wuxin are good friends. Oh, you know Wan Wuxin? Xiaohua immediately thought of the Wan Wuxin he saw in the transmission hub. Senior knows Wu Xin? Yang Haoya asked curiously, why didn't Junior hear him mention it? Xiaohua shrugged and replied, You should ask Wan Wuxin this question. Yang Haoya smiled and said, Wu Xin is a person who hides his words. Even if Junior asked, he might not say it. Back then, Junior was hunting demonic beasts in the Pinbo Lake, and I was accidentally surrounded by several demonic beasts. Wan Wuxin rushed out to help Junior, and then the two of us worked together to kill the demonic beasts and snatch their cores. Since then, we have become good friends. Even though we are friends who have gone through life and death, there are many things that he won't tell Junior. Everyone has their own personality, this can't be forced. Xiaohua nodded. At this moment, Yang Haoya hesitated and said, Junior's team has a cultivator that Senior is very familiar with. Very familiar? Xiaohua muttered and smiled. I don't know many disciples. This person is probably from the fragrance cult. As for whether it is Yu Mingxin or Yu Changming, I can't guess. Yu Mingxin and Yu Changming are both there. Yang Haoya smiled and said, That day at the transmission hub, in order to save Senior, Yu Mingxin used the secret sacrificial technique to summon the phantom of the moon beast. Now, it has become a legend in the ruins. Of this little girl. Xiaohua smiled and said, In order to repay a debt of gratitude, she even sacrificed her own life. This is really beyond my expectations. Chapter 4152. At this point, Xiaohua's heart moved as he asked, Have Yu Mingxin and Wan Wuxin already arrived at Mount Leha? This Junior doesn't know. Yang Haoya answered honestly, But if nothing unexpected happened, they should be at Mount Leha. Of course, if Senior wants to know, why don't you come with Junior to take a look? How could Xiaohua still dare to meet Yu Mingxin? He hurriedly waved his hand and said, You all have your own matters to attend to. This old man also has his own matters to attend to. This old man won't go with you to Mount Leha. When you see Wan Wuxin and Yu Mingxin, send my regards to them. No problem. Yang Haoya naturally didn't know about Xiaohua and Yu Mingxin's matters in the heavenly demon fantasy land. He immediately agreed and then asked, However, Senior Xiao, Junior Sister Mingxin seems a little strange. Why did she suddenly wear a veil? No one is allowed to see her appearance, that? Xiaohua was shocked and hurriedly interrupted Yang Haoya's words. Fly slowly. This old man has some urgent matters and can't wait any longer. Yes, Senior, please. Yang Haoya hurriedly bowed to send him off. Xiaohua turned into a stream of light and flew far away. Yang Haoya raised his head and looked at Xiaohua's disappearing figure with admiration. He muttered to himself, Spiritual Master Xiao is indeed a righteous person. Although he is an outsider, he has put in a lot of effort for the survival of our ruins. However, when he said this, a layer of gloominess appeared on his face. He sighed and said, Alas, it's a pity that people's hearts are fickle and unpredictable. Spiritual Master Xiao with such a kind heart was actually said to be a demon. I really don't know what those people are thinking. Xiaohua arrived in front of the teleportation formation and inquired about it. Immediately, a disciple of the Misty School led him to a teleportation formation. As the teleportation formation flashed, Xiaohua left Ping River again. After Xiaohua came out of the teleportation formation and flew for more than 1,000 li, he saw a winding mountain range on the horizon. Although the mountain range was still far away from Xiaohua, its majestic aura, along with the fierce wind in the surroundings and the many clouds high up in the sky, had already entered Xiaohua's vision. When Xiaohua saw that the direction was not too far off, he released his spiritual force as he flew towards the mountain range. Although the clouds in the sky were scattered, there were many vortexes near each cloud that were hard to see with the naked eye. These vortexes blew out fine breezes, and when they reached midair, these breezes mixed together and began to form a strange hurricane. This hurricane enveloped an area of nearly 10,000 miles. Xiaohua was flying within the hurricane. One after another, the wind blades landed on his protective golden light and actually caused the golden light to flicker. As Xiaohua's figure went deeper, the wind blades became increasingly powerful. In the center of the array formation, the mountain range that Xiaohua had seen before was already like a huge dragon coiling on the ground. What surprised Xiaohua was that there wasn't just one mountain range like this. There were 6 other similar mountain ranges next to it. These 7 mountain ranges had different colors, and they were all in the shape of a rainbow. Moreover, these mountain ranges were in the shape of a spiral. Finally, in the center, they condensed into a conch-like mountain peak that rose from the ground to a height of several thousand zhang. Xiaohua's spiritual force swept across the mountain peak. Not only was his spiritual force blocked by the array formation, but there were also 7 different kinds of power that were born at the same time and began to use the power of heaven and earth to devour Xiaohua's spiritual force. This sect protecting formation of the fragrance school is really not bad. Not only can it use the innate terrain to draw in the qi of the earth to condense the array, it can also draw in the mutual promotion and suppression of the 5 elements into the qi of heaven and earth. The eye of the array is distributed in the void, making it difficult for people to figure out whether it is real or fake. Xiaohua was a formation grandmaster. After looking at it for a moment, he had already understood the array formation. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Although the origin of this array formation is not comparable to the Misty School, it is much stronger than the 2 innate divine restriction formations of the Misty School. The person who set up this array formation, I'm afraid it's the same as the senior who set up the teleportation array of the Misty School. They also occasionally passed by the ruins and casually took action, right? Thinking of the Misty School's array formation, Xiaohua suddenly thought of another matter. That day in Pingjiang, he had promised Lu Wuxie that he would teach the complete Earth Clan Soul Condensing Array and Winnowing Basket Heart Cleansing Array to the Misty School. However, because of the invasion of the 2 demon emperors, Xiaohua had to hastily fight them. Later on, he even went to the demon array, so this matter was put aside. When Xiaohua returned to the Misty School, his heart was filled with anger. How could he still think of this matter? As for the cultivators of the Misty School, they were even more afraid to speak. Forget it. Xiaohua's anger had already disappeared. He thought to himself, when I have time, I'll give the 2 arrays to the Misty School. Just based on the word, Misty, it seems extremely familiar. Perhaps this Misty School is related to the Misty School in this Xiao's memory. There's no harm in giving it to them. However, when the time comes, let's see what they have to trade with this Xiao. Since Xiaohua had released his divine sense, he naturally had no intention of hiding his whereabouts. He originally planned to return to the Soaring Dragon Mountain range after leaving the Misty School, but with Yang Haoya's reminder, he thought of Yu Mingxin's safety. In any case, Yu Mingxin was the first cultivator he had met in the ruins. Moreover, Yu Mingxin had truly saved his life. Although Xiaohua didn't want to face a young girl who was in love with him, he absolutely couldn't ignore Yu Mingxin's life. Therefore, Xiaohua came to the 7 Ridge Mountain Ranges in sense-spreading sect. Xiaohua's divine sense swept over, and not long after, several divine senses descended from the sky. It was the patrolling disciples who were using the array formation's power to investigate. Is it Fortune Gate's Taoist Xiao? A slightly surprised voice came from within the hurricane. That's right, it's this old man. Xiaohua replied. That voice hurriedly called out, Senior, Please wait here for a moment. Junior will send a disciple to send a message to the sect. My sect master has already instructed that if Taoist Xiao comes, we must receive him with the etiquette of a sect master. Xiao Hua was stunned and asked curiously, "Your sect master Emo Lianxi actually knew that this old man was coming to preach the incense sect?" While they were speaking, a hurricane passage appeared not far from Xiao Hua. Immediately after, an old man wearing a long robe rushed out of the hurricane passage, arrived in front of Xiao Hua, and bowed respectfully. Junior Song Yun greets Senior Xiao. "Get up." Xiao Hua smiled and helped Song Yun up. He asked again, "Could it be that your sect master had already predicted that this old man would come to the Seven Ridge Mountain Range?" Song Yun straightened his body and smiled apologetically. "Yes, after Yu Mingxin and Yu Changming returned to the Seven Ridge Mountain Range and told Senior about their encounter, the sect master issued an order for us to wait carefully. He said that Taoist Xiao would definitely return to preach the incense sect." Xiao Hua's heart relaxed. When he first heard Song Yun's words, he thought that Emo Lianxi of the incense sect had the ability to predict the future. It seems that Emo Lianxi must have thought that he would come to the Seven Ridge Mountain Range to pay a visit, so he instructed his disciples. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua suddenly remembered something and hurriedly shouted, "Song Yun, quickly send a message to your sect master. Don't make any ceremony. This old man hates these things the most. If he makes some dragon or phoenix to welcome me, this old man will turn around immediately." "Of course there won't be any dragon or phoenix." Song Yun smiled apologetically, "But Taoist Xiao is the leader of a sect. If there isn't any ceremony to welcome you, not only will my sect master feel embarrassed, but the other sects will also laugh at my incense sect." When he heard that there was a ceremony to welcome him, Xiao Hua's heart began to tremble. He hated a group of people lining up together and greeting him one after another. Originally, he didn't know him, but now, he had to put on a deliberate smile on his face to curry favor. It was really uncomfortable. "Forget it." Xiao Hua stopped and shook his head. "This old man better not go." "Taoist." Song Yun was really anxious. He hurriedly flew in front of Xiao Hua and shouted, "Junior will send a message right now. Quick, send a message to the sect master. Don't make any ceremony." At this time, a few disciples just happened to fly out of the hurricane passage. Song Yun didn't even think and hurriedly ordered. The two disciples didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly turned around. Song Yun stood pitifully in front of Xiao Hua. He had seen many Dao sect cultivators who liked to show off. Some sect masters came to visit the incense sect and couldn't wait for him to move all his disciples over. They also couldn't wait for the incense sect to come out in full force to welcome them. Fortunately, the incense sect was one of the three great sects in the ruins. There was no need for them to deliberately flatter the sect masters of other sections. However, this was the first time he saw a cultivator like Xiao Hua who regarded etiquette like a snake or scorpion. "Let's go." Xiao Hua glanced at Song Yun and ordered, "Don't wait for your sect master to come. You lead the way." "Senior, you don't want to wait for my sect master?" Song Yun said halfway and immediately came to his senses. He hurriedly shrunk his neck and said, "Senior, please." The sound of wind was loud in the hurricane passage. Xiao Hua casually moved his body and flew forward like falling rain. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the sound of wind gradually decreased. A kind of vigorous and steady aura suddenly intensified. Xiao Hua understood that this was the location of the incense sect's 5 elements formation. However, before he could use any divine ability, he saw a 7-colored brilliance soar into the sky from the distance. The brilliance let out a rumbling sound, shaking the sky for nearly 1,000 li. From the distant conch-shaped mountain peak, it directly landed in front of Xiao Hua's eyes and turned into a 7-colored rainbow bridge. A voice fell along with the rainbow bridge. "I am Emo Lianxi. On behalf of the incense sect, I welcome Taoist Xiao." Immediately, in front of Xiao Hua's eyes, a 3-colored brilliance emerged from the rainbow bridge. It turned into the appearance of a young master in embroidered clothes and cupped his hands in greeting. "I, Xiao Hua, greet sect master Emo." Xiaohua couldn't be disrespectful and also cupped his hands in greeting. Taoist, please. Taoist has come from afar. I came late to welcome you. The young master in embroidered clothes' appearance became clearer. It was the appearance of an elegant youth. This youth had white teeth and red lips. His eyes contained a smile. A sense of intelligence flowed out from the youth's eyes. He looked similar to a student of the academy. Chapter 4153. Hee. Seeing Emo Lianxi's appearance, Xiaohua couldn't help but think of his youth before he entered the nascent soul stage. His impression of Emo Lianxi was very good. He raised his hand and said with a smile, Sect Master please. Emo Lianxi nodded. Her figure was like lightning as she flew towards the end of the rainbow bridge. Xiaohua also moved his body and followed behind. As they flew closer, Xiaohua could clearly see that on the other side of the rainbow bridge was a huge palace. Not only did it cover the entire mountain, even the 7 mountain ridges were under it. Moreover, this palace was in the shape of a flower. The flower had 7 petals, each corresponding to the 7 mountain ridges. Even the color of the petals corresponded to the mountain ridges. Where Xiaohua's gaze landed, the 7-colored palace had a kind of feeling as if it was about to fly away, like a flower swaying in the wind. As Emo Lianxi landed, in the center of the flower, in front of a huge palace, there were only a few women in colorful clothes standing gracefully. When these female disciples saw Xiaohua, they immediately bowed and saluted. They called out, Junior greets Taoist Master Xiao, sweat? Seeing the peerless beauty of these female disciples, Xiaohua's heart slightly twitched. He hurriedly waved his hand and helped the girls up. He smiled and said, All of you rise. Ah. Emo Lianxi laughed and said, Taoist Xiao is indeed a person with a temperament. This little one also hates those complicated formalities. It's really boring. It's better to have a few flower-like girls to accompany you and admire the flowers under the moon. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He waved his hand and said, Sect Master Mo's words are a bit inappropriate, right? Complicated formalities and admiring the flowers under the moon have nothing to do with it. Hee, that's what I meant. Emo Lianxi didn't care about the meaning of Xiaohua's words. She pointed at the 2 female disciples and said, You too, serve Taoist Xiao well. Otherwise, I'll hold you responsible. The 2 women were beautiful, fat and thin. They answered and immediately walked over. They held Xiaohua's arms on both sides. Their softness and warmth immediately stuck to him. The admiration in their eyes didn't seem to be fake. They respectfully said, Taoist, please. The 2 female disciples not only had delicate looks, their temperament was also refined. Their eyes didn't have any foxy charm. However, Xiaohua already didn't get close to women for tens of thousands of years. Although his Tao heart was firm, he didn't cultivate the virgin technique. The moment he touched these fleshy bodies, he felt his heart was raging. Damn it. Xiaohua hurriedly activated his heart technique and cursed inwardly. He knew that he was injured, and it was the Devil Emperor who injured him. His willpower was insufficient. Since he knew that he couldn't resist, Xiaohua simply didn't pretend to be an expert. He raised his hand and waved it, saying, Sect leader Emo, quickly let your 2 female disciples leave. I have been heavily injured Taoist Xiaohua, Now, I can't take this kind of temptation. If I do something inappropriate, I'm afraid it won't be good for either of us. Emo Lianxi's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He naturally knew everything that had happened in the ethereal sect. He had also hypothesized a few excuses that Xiaohua would use to decline. He had even assumed that Xiaohua would not decline. However, he had not expected that Xiaohua, who was at the Tao transformation realm, would so frankly admit that he could not be tempted by women. Emo Lianxi smiled and said, Taoist Xiao, don't think too much. The female disciples of the Misty School are all top-quality cauldrons. At the same time, Taoist Xiao chased away the 2 Taoist emperors who attacked the Misty School. Not only did you save the Misty School, you also saved the ruins. The female disciples of the fragrance sect are very willing to offer their hearts for Taoist Zhao's recovery. Don't worry, Taoist Xiao Hua. They are sincere. Yes, Taoist Xiao. The two beautiful disciples said sincerely, Senior has done so much for the ruins. We are willing to offer our lives to Taoist Xiao Hua as long as we can help Taoist Xiao Hua recover. So that's how it is. Xiao Hua finally understood. He thought that Mo Lianxi of the fragrance sect was probing and roping him in, but he didn't think that there was such a layer of true meaning. Since that was the case, Xiao Hua couldn't accept it even more. He gently pulled his arm out of the embrace of the two female disciples. His movements were so careful and gentle, as if he was afraid of touching fragile porcelain. When the two female disciples saw Xiao Hua like this, their faces were full of disappointment. However, the luster in their eyes became even brighter and their arms also loosened. Xiao Hua pulled his arm out and cupped his hands, saying, Sect leader Mo, this Xiao understands your intentions. However, if this Zhao's injuries were to spoil the chastity of these two female disciples, even if this Zhao's strength increases greatly, this Zhao's heart will not be at ease. Chastity? What is chastity? Mo Lianxi was slightly stunned and asked back. Xiao Hua sweated profusely. Chastity was the concept of Confucian cultivators. The ruins was a corner of the cultivation world. Although Mo Lianxi was the sect leader of the Misty School, she probably hadn't heard of chastity before, right? However, since that was the case, Xiao Hua also understood that this Misty School in the ruins was definitely not the Misty School he was looking for. After thinking for a while, Xiao Hua smiled and said, There's no need to elaborate on what chastity is. Sect leader Mo only needs to know that the hardest thing to bear is the grace of a beauty. This Xiao has received the grace of a beauty, but I'm afraid that I won't be able to repay it. Since that's the case, it's better not to touch it. What repayment or no repayment? This is all their own will, there's no need for any repayments. Mo Lianxi said disdainfully, If Taoist won't spoil his Tao foundation because of plucking Yin to replenish Yang, then feel free to try my Misty School's secret technique. You must know that in the ruins, who knows how many disciples of sects have come to our door and are willing to tie the knot with my Misty School's female disciples. In an instant, Xiao Hua suddenly understood why Yu Mingxin treated him like that. He smiled bitterly and then said seriously, Sect leader people of different paths cannot make plans together. This old man didn't come for this matter. Good. Mo Lianxi smiled and pushed the female disciple in her arms out and said, People often say that guests should follow the host's wishes. Today, I can only follow the host's wishes. Very good. Xiao Hua clapped and said with a smile, Sect leader Mo, please find a secluded hall. I have an important matter to discuss with sect leader. Don't be anxious, Taoist Xiao. Mo Lianxi's eyes slightly narrowed again and said with a smile, I have already sent disciples to find Yu Mingxin. Taking advantage of this time, I will introduce a few elders of my sect to Taoist. I also have an important matter to discuss with Taoist. Xiao Hua's eyelids twitched and he said somewhat helplessly, Sect leader Mo, when this Xiao came to Misty School, this Xiao had already seen Yang Haoya who was together with Yu Mingxin. If this Xiao is here for my own personal matters, why would I come to Misty School? Wouldn't it be better to directly find Yu Mingxin? Sect leader Mo, if this is the case, wouldn't this Xiao be in trouble again? So Taoist Xiao didn't come for the important matter of Yu Mingxin Mo Lianxi replied with a sudden realization. However, this sudden realization clearly wasn't a sudden realization. Seeing this, Xiao Hua's heart was moved. He stared at Mo Lianxi for a few breaths of time and then said word by word, Sect leader Mo, what do you mean? Could it be that if I didn't come for Yu Mingxin, I couldn't come to Misty School? Sect leader Mo already knew that this Xiao would definitely come to Misty School and you are testing this Xiao? AI. A trace of gloominess appeared on Mo Lianxi's face. She nodded slightly and sighed. This one naturally knew that Taoist Xiao would come. Moreover, this one knew when I heard Taoist Zhao's name. This one hopes that I heard wrong and that Taoist Xiao isn't that person. Unfortunately, Taoist Xiao still came. Although this one doesn't know what important matter Taoist Xiao brought, this one. At this point, Lianxi stopped and looked at the few female disciples on the left. She waved her hand and said, "You all can leave." "Yes, sect leader." The few female disciples bowed and left. Among them, 2 of them looked at Xiaohua reluctantly. After the few female disciples left, Lianxi said, "Let's go, Taoist Xiao. Let's go to Bright Palace and tell this one what is important enough for me to wipe out the incense sect." "Ah?" Lianxi lifted her foot. Xiaohua was shocked. The premonition from before was born again. He asked in a low voice, "Sect leader Mo, you already knew that this Xiao was going to bring you the message of wiping out the sect?" Lianxi's figure slightly paused. She then looked back at Xiaohua and replied with certainty, "Otherwise, why would this one leave such an order to the disciples of the sect?" "How did you know?" Xiaohua followed, still somewhat puzzled. Lianxi forced a smile and said, "Once Taoist Xiao enters Bright Palace, you will naturally know." When Xiaohua followed Lianxi into Bright Palace, he saw that it was a huge hall. The 4 walls were painted with Desolation Catalog. These Desolation Catalog were different from the ones Xiaohua had seen before. Other than giants, mountains, floods, and monsters, there were also many fragments. These fragments seemed to be a whole. Many of the edges were the same. Of course, these fragments were not only scattered within a certain catalog, but also between different catalogs. Moreover, there were obscure fluctuations emanating from within these fragments. Everywhere Xiaohua's eyes landed on, the fragments emanated a strange and variegated brilliance, and Xiaohua was actually able to see stars, regions, continents, and so on and so forth through these lights. Xiaohua frowned and his gaze fell on other parts of the catalog. The things on these catalogs seemed to be engraved on them. Other than the fluctuations within the fragments, there was also the ubiquitous aura on the catalog. This aura was different depending on what was engraved on it. If all these auras were connected together, there would be a strange covering and drowning. After looking at the catalog around Bright Palace, Xiaohua's gaze fell on the main hall. There were a few brocade chairs there. Currently, several young cultivators were sitting on them. When they saw Xiaohua and Lianxi enter, they all stood up and welcomed them. When everyone came closer, Lianxi stopped and smiled at Xiaohua. "Taoist Xiao, these are the elders of my aroma sect. I, Chang Min, greet Taoist Xiao." A white-clothed scholar with curved eyebrows smiled and cupped his hands. Immediately after, a blue-clothed middle-aged cultivator with a somewhat yellow face cupped his hands and said, "I, Wu Hong, greet Taoist Xiao." The other was a burly man with a big waist. The beard on his face could be seen. His voice was also loud and clear. He cupped his hands and said, "I, by Jin Zhong, greet Taoist Xiao. Fellow Taoists, please rise." Xiaohua hurriedly raised his hand to help everyone up and said with a smile, "I, Xiaohua, greet fellow Taoists. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.